Um, my girl Danny Robinson is live, so I won't stay on here too long. Maybe just do like a 30-minute. I wanted to bring up Andrew's situation. I'm gonna I want to know what's gonna happen to Beatrice and Eugenie. What are they thinking? What are they going through?
Live. Meghan was quite hot then, actually.
The massive crisis.
Hello, highly sensitive. Hello, Rachel. Come join me for a nighttime meet and greet about Andrew. Yeah. What do we think is going to happen to poor Andrew? Is he going to be arrested? Is he going to have to spend time in jail? I just wonder, is he going to have to spend time in jail? Because they've already making an example out of him to pick him up and question him. Yep. Earlier, I got to talk to my mom, and I found her takeaway of Andrew's being arrested interesting. What's going to happen to Andrew? What's going to happen to the royal family? What's going to happen to William and Catherine? What's going to happen with all this controversy around Andrew? Let's see, guys.
Engulfing King Charles and the British royal family has just got worse overnight, with reports now that 7 separate police forces in the United Kingdom are now probing Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the former royal.
The pressure
and
piles.
What's most shocking and what is worrying Prince William in particular is that some of these investigations now do relate directly to sex trafficking on Epstein's so-called Lolita Express. So this is the latest. 7 forces now assessing evidence in the Epstein files as part of a nationwide probe coordinated by a team of British police chiefs. Their checks include up to 90 flights into Stansted's private terminal by the jet owned by Mountbatten Windsor's pedo pal, Jeffrey Epstein. Essex police were the latest to weigh in, saying, "We are assessing the information that has emerged in relation to private flights into and out of Stansted Airport following the publication of the US DOJ Epstein files. At least 6 other forces have either launched criminal investigations or are assessing evidence within the files' 3 million pages. They include the Metropolitan Police, Surrey, Thames Valley, Norfolk, Bedfordshire, and Wiltshire Police." So this is now becoming so difficult to see a situation in which the king potentially becomes embroiled in a court case, something that has always been considered untenable. Of course, this comes further down the path if Andrew is charged and then is put on trial and pleads not guilty. Senior royal sources telling me it's almost impossible to see how Charles could remain on the throne. If Andrew were to give evidence,
I still don't understand, Dan Whitten. What does King Charles have to do with Andrew? I think they're making a big deal out of it, and they should not a big deal out of the situation, because it is a big deal. Let's get that straight. But what I'm trying to say is that they're trying their best to connect King Charles with Andrew. And I find it unfair. Very unfair.
That the king approved, or not approved of his behavior, but was aware of some of these allegations.
That's what I'm saying.
It's also really mucky, the stuff that's come.
So let's say that King Charles found out in 2008 when Epstein had got arrested for the first time. What was he supposed to do with the information, knowing that his brother was hanging out with Epstein? What was he supposed to say? What was he supposed to do? How was he supposed to know? I don't believe that.
Coming out, it's really gross. Like, what about the fact that Andrew sent Christmas cards with numerous photos of his young daughters, Beatrice and Eugenie, to Epstein, despite the fact that he had just been jailed for sex trafficking a 14-year-old?
Oh, are we saying that Andrew sent cards and birthday cards after he found out that he was essaying little girls? Andrew, shame on you. He was sending birthday cards and cards of him and his family to Epstein. Epstein and Andrew were really close. Sounds like they had a really tight relationship. And you can't tell me that Andrew, when he was in the BBC interview, lying about he didn't know. I didn't know. But now you knew when he went to jail. You knew when he went to jail. And then of course, Andrew is all up in it. Trust me. Andrew is a PDFer. And of course, he knew and knows what was going on with Epstein while he's sending him cards with his daughter's face on it. Not a good look, Andrew.
First card dated the 21st of December 2011 and signed by the then Duke of York, which Epstein...
2011. He lied to us and told us when he met with Epstein after he got out of prison, he went to him to tell him that the relationship between him and Epstein was over. So why is he still sending cards and stuff in 2011, which tells me he never got over the relationship? You know what I'm saying, guys? How is that possible? In 2011, he sends video photos of his family after he knew why they sent him to jail and everything else. He's still communicating with Epstein after the fact. Again, Andrew was still in contact with Epstein after he went to jail. He actually this was the time they were walking in Central Park together. This was right after he went to jail.
Epstein much joy and happiness at this time and for the year ahead. Remember, he told Emily Maitlis, by the way, that he had no communication with Epstein whatsoever. There was another picture as well showing Beatrice and Eugenie alongside their father when they were aged 23 and 21. One image showed the young women posing in the snow with Princess Beatrice in a silver Christmas cracker hat and earmuffs. I mean, why would you do it? Why would you send pedophile sex trafficker pictures of your own daughter? But then we know Fergie was having discussions with Epstein about Eugenie being on a...
Because I think he still wanted a relationship with Epstein. I think he couldn't let it go. I think that Andrew had a hard time with letting the relationship go with Epstein. For him to get with him after he was arrested for the sex trafficking SA situation speaks volumes and tells a story about Andrew's character, that he's oblivious, like he's above the law. Then he gets on the BBC and starts lying to us. Hello, CC. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Can you believe that? Hola.
A shagging weekend. It's also really difficult for Andrew in terms of the US aspect of all of this.
Why?
David Boyes, who was the lawyer for the late Virginia Giuffre, is now suggesting that Andrew should be given some type of clemency in order to travel to the US to provide evidence to Congress without being under criminal investigation. Watch this with Piers Morgan.
And when he knew it, what he knew about her age, what he knew about the extent to which he was coerced, she was coerced, I think needs to be decided by investigators, prosecutors, and ultimately by judge or jury.
What do you guys think about Andrew coming to the United States and speaking to Congress? What do you guys think about that? I wouldn't come. He doesn't owe the American people an explanation as to what went down. He does owe his own country and his family and everybody else an explanation of for real, a lay it out on the table, what really happened, Andrew. But here's the kicker. Why in the hell would we try to get Andrew over here to speak in front of Congress when the people that we already have over here that's been in the Epstein files aren't being questioned? Make that make sense. I would tell the American people, I would tell Congress, hell no, I ain't coming. Clemency. Oh, we're not going to hold you. We just want to question you. We have some questions for you. No, ask your own people. They were over there too. Yes, yes. Yeah, they trying to wiggle out of their shenanigans. I bet he was lying to the police officers when he was in there being arrested and questioned. I don't believe that Andrew is telling the truth, because he sure wasn't telling the truth in the BBC interview. That was a mess. He's only going to lie. Hello, Pickles. Welcome, welcome. Who's to say Hicks would lie to the United States? Exactly. That's what Highly Sensitive said. Like he did when giving private info to evil E Island Man.
Certainly engaged in terribly wrongful conduct. He clearly knew that Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell were trafficking these girls. Now, whether he knew that they were underage,
sorry, I was on mute. Andrew can lie and lie if he wants to, but he needs to come clean. We already know that you've done this, and it's really sickening to know the prince did these things to these young ladies, and he kept being friends with Epstein after the fact. He opened his mouth to the During man and left a paper trail, dumb criminal.
age, whether he knew that there was force and coercion involved. That is something that is a state of mind that I think before I made a judgment on that, I'd want to see more evidence. But it's certainly something that's was worth investigating. Whether statute of limitations have now passed, I think is a question. But I have been, as you know, I have been very disappointed in the authorities in the United States and in the United Kingdom for not doing this investigation in a timely way.
And by the way, David Boys
He's
is the
disappointed in the United States and Europe. We're all taking our time. Tell the truth and shame the devil.
guy who believes that Meghan Markle should give testimony over what she knew about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. He is completely right to say the police are playing catch up here. They ignored this, but should give testimony over what
doing this investigation in a timely way.
And by the way, David Boys is the guy who believes that Meghan Markle should give testimony over what she knew about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. He is completely right.
What? See how Dan goes off into la la land. Dan Wooden just said that we need to question Meghan to know what she knows about Andrew. Now, I know she was on a yacht. I know that word on the curb is that she met Andrew before she met Harry. But for Dan Wooden to bring it up out of the blue, it's odd. It's odd that Meghan would be anywhere near this. It's just odd. Why would they question her? Dan Wooden
should give testimony.
Meghan should give testimony. Is he off or what? Yes, I believe that too, Pickles. Great insight. I believe some of his activities happen here in the U.S., Florida, and New York. Could he be used as a potential witness? Well, they definitely want to question him, I know. LL, the second video I sent you mentioned the Marcos too. See, that's interesting to me. That Meghan is even in it. You know, I know Meghan's done some sorry stuff, but I don't see where bringing her in for questioning is going to solve anything. That's what it sounds like to me too, CC. I need to have a little bit more information to know that Meghan was involved and if she needs to be questioned.
Over what she knew about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. He is completely right to say the police are playing catch up here. They ignored this for such a long time. And I think there was a sense of complicity with the British authorities and the royal family. Well, that's out the window now. There was more from David Boys. Watch. We are on a mission to 700,000 subscribers. So I need you to do something. By the way, no big tech backing to all our new videos.
Should Andrew Mountbatten Windsor now come to the United States and face the music under oath in front of Congress, in your opinion?
Absolutely. I think he's got an obligation to tell what he knows. Now, I also think that if he's afraid of being arrested in the United States, we ought to give him safe passage to come to the United States to testify. Because I think we don't want there to be any excuse for him.
First, you need to, first and foremost, you need to question the people over here in the United States instead of questioning Andrew. It's weird. It's a weird to do.
Not coming and telling what he knows. But he knows.
It's a weird to do. No, I'm not coming.
I don't know myself.
Because
they gave up in the litigation we had against them just before his deposition was supposed to be taken. So I don't think anybody knows how much he knows. But we know he knows a lot from his contact. And whatever he knows.
He's going to lie. He's going to lie. They want to know what he knows. They want to know what he saw. They want to know Andrew might be he's in trouble. But what about his safety? Are we concerned about
I think he has an obligation to share that.
There is also a potentially game-changing moment coming at Westminster, with the door being open for parliamentarians in the United Kingdom to actually call Andrew to give evidence. Now, this would genuinely be a game changer. It really would. This is how the royal editor Robert Jobson described MPs poised to investigate Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's conduct as US trade envoy. Committee chairman Liam Byrne told the BBC this. Watch.
But my task this week is to make sure that the committee's got options in front of them when they meet on Tuesday for how we might or might not take this investigation forward. Obviously, we can't and don't want to compromise a police investigation. We've got quite strict rules about sub-judice and getting involved in things that may come before the cause. But this is obviously a matter of huge concern, and I'm going to make sure that my committee's got the full options available for how we take our investigations forward when they convene next Tuesday morning.
Would you potentially ask to speak to him to try and clear some of those details up?
Don't want to prejudge where the committee's going to go on this at this stage.
Would it be one of your options though? You said you haven't sort of considered what your final one will be just yet, but that presumably that would be one of them.
At this stage, all I can say is nothing is off the table.
So, I mean, this is a huge moment on so many fronts. Let me bring in my superstar panel, Richard Thompson, the National Director of Advance UK, Montgomery Tom's independent YouTuber.
Nothing is off the table. Like, nothing is off the table. He is open to scrutiny. The 2 videos I sent are deep. Cece, where did you send them to? And what's the title, lovely? Is it Jay-Z and Beyonce, Poison Me? And then there's one I saw what Jeffrey Epstein did to Tom Hanks. That's the only one I see, lovely. Let me know which one it is. Marco definitely knew Andrew before Harry, see? Because he could still life, maybe strap him to a lie detector in the hearing. They could. He would still lie. They mentioned marbles in it too. Okay. Okay, let me see. Is this it?
For
Trigger
my
warning.
life. Yeah, but aren't you concerned for my life? Yeah, but more importantly, I'm concerned for everybody because this shit has been going on forever.
What? Trigger warning.
I just said it. But what I want to get into is like the bigger picture of how this stuff is all connected.
Is that it, Cece? Who is this gentleman? That's my girl, Danny. Oh, where is it? Where is it? Okay, that's Danny.
Rights activists. So, Kelly, I mean, I totally agree with David Boyes that the British police are playing catch up. I mean, they've done nothing for years and years and years. All of a sudden, 7 police forces investigating. But I also think we would be naive to say that we are not in totally uncharted territory here. Because, of course, if Andrew does end up on the stand, he could in some way implicate his brother. Now, remember, the king, it's his court. So I do now see a situation. I'm a royalist and a monarchist, so I'm really not being hysterical about this, but I do now see a situation where this could lead to the abdication of King Charles if the royal family.
It will not. You keep saying that, and it's disgusting. Dan.
Isn't careful. How do you see all of this playing out as a women's rights campaigner?
Personally, I'm preparing a party early. I absolutely loathe the man. Both of them, both
Andrew and Charles.
Yeah, I do. I think the country's been terrible since the Queen died, and so maybe that would be great if we could find a way to get rid of Charles. But him being on the stand and giving evidence, I just think everyone knows everything. I mean, I've watched The Crown. I feel like I know everything about the monarchy. I think they all know everything. I think in order for Andrew to make those trips, there would have been quiet conversations. with the king. I think either he was involved or he knew, or he turned a blind eye. But either way, he's definitely implicated. You can't be doing that for all of those years, and the person writing the checks for your security, and approving every single penny that you spend, and approving your allowances, and approving your travel, and knowing where you are. Of course they on you. But it will be very, very exciting. And obviously, one must say at this point that it will be justice or some justice for some victims who can look at this and say, well, even the most powerful of these disgusting paedophiles and child abusers and torturers, at least some of them are going to have to answer some questions.
Yes, but of course, Virginia Giuffre is dead. So too late for her. But I agree, there are others who may feel a sense of justice. I guess, Monty, where I feel like I've got to provide a little bit of a defense is that I don't think Charles knew during the back and forth. He wasn't monarch at that time. I don't think he knew that he was like potentially shagging young women and Epstein.
That's what I'm talking about. So why are you accusing him of knowing something, Dan Wooden?
The palace, I don't think Charles knew that. The problem is he did know about the financial settlement to Virginia Giuffre and paid, we learn, £1.5 million in hush money. Now, I think that becomes very difficult for King Charles, and I think the person who has his hands completely clean in all of this is Prince William and Catherine. They didn't know. They didn't pay any of the money. And actually, it probably would be, a simpler thing, even though I'm not advocating for abdication at this stage. It would be a simpler thing to have them on the throne. But first, New Year, clean slate, and a quick nod to a tall ideas in Surfshark.
Our current Prime Minister, who has a pretty tight grip.
Was described as a calamity likened to a car crash. Prince Andrew's infamous interview in which he tried and spectacularly failed to defend his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, now the journalist who held him to account back then is reflecting on that sit down, telling us why she thinks he nearly got away with lying to all of us.
Guys, remember the BBC interview with Andrew? He was sitting there lying like he didn't know who Epstein was and they wasn't friends. They didn't see each other that much. And he knew Maxwell. He really didn't know who, he really didn't hang around Epstein. That's how he portrays himself in this interview. Let's listen to a little bit of it.
He was brought right into the heart of the royal family at your invitation.
Do I regret the fact that
you invited him? He had a royal invitation because of you.
He has quite obviously conducted himself in a manner unbecoming. Yes.
Unbecoming. He was a sex offender.
Yeah.
He's almost still protecting him. Did you hear that? He's not becoming of a gentleman. She said, wait a minute, he's an SAer. Like, did you forget? He knows. He knows. I don't think Andrew thinks there's anything wrong with his behavior. For him to hang out with Epstein after he gets out of prison speaks volumes.
I'm sorry.
You were staying at the house of a convicted sex offender.
It was a convenient place to stay.
He was staying at his house. He was staying at Epstein's house, spending the night, talking about it was convenient. It was a convenient place to stay. That's why he stayed there. This was after he went to jail. After Epstein went to jail and got out of jail, ding dong, Andrew went and stayed with him as if he had not just got out of jail for saying accusations. Yeah, Andrew is delusional. He's delulu. Okay, thank you, CC. Justice for Virginia. And we're also hashtag, where's Nancy?
there is no good time to talk about Mr. Epstein.
Yet in November 2019, the then Prince Andrew did, sitting down with the BBC's Emily Maitlis for an interview that would ultimately ruin the royal. It's one of the most significant moments in television history. Did you realise that at the time?
I realised it could be. I didn't go in thinking it would be, but I knew a lot hinged on how he responded to our questions.
He did not respond well. Some answers were bizarre.
He didn't do well in this interview. He just looked like a liar. He looked like a PDF file. He wasn't genuine at all. He was disattached. You could feel the lies. You could hear the lies coming out of his mouth. Talking about how he did trying to downplay his relationship with Epstein. And she asked him, so why did you contact him when he got out of prison? Oh, I contacted him to tell him that our relationship was over. She said, you needed to meet with him to do that? He said he wanted to do it like he wanted to be a gentleman about it. You wanted to be a gentleman towards a PDF file? I mean, the interview was off the chain. We should definitely do the video again. It was really, really good. But yeah, she questions him. She says, why did you spend the night at his house? You know, when you guys got back together, he said, because it's convenient. That was his excuse, because it was convenient. You're going to spend the night with a PDF file, but it's because it's convenient. No, you went over there because you was going to do some nefarious stuff, Andrew. Now, Andrew didn't got himself into some serious trouble. Andrew is just a perv that needs to pay like everyone else that is involved in this sticky, sickening acts. That's right, Rochelle. I agree with you 100%.
I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat, or I didn't sweat at the time.
He doesn't sweat. Remember when he said he doesn't sweat? I forgot why sweating came up. Why was that even brought up?
Others, blatant lies.
To this day, I never had any contact with him.
That whole idea that he'd gone to New York to break off the
He
friendship.
said, till this day, I have not had any contact with him. But you did in 2011 when you sent him a card of your kids, your girls. Stop lying to us, Andrew. The cat's out the bag.
He'd gone for the walk in Central Park. I mean, I now think, oh my God, you literally just sort of must have made all that up on the spot.
Do you think he thought it was going to play out differently because it was a train wreck from his perspective?
I remember him being pretty pleased with it afterwards. And I think
The funny part about the interview is when he finished the interview, he told the people, he told his family that he did a good job. He said, I did really good. And then they watched it and they realized it was a debacle. No, you did not do a good job.
it was only when the papers came out.
His daughters encouraged him
that
to do
weekend,
this.
on the sort of Sunday and Monday, that he realised how differently it had sort of come across.
It made global headlines. Maitlis believes the damning interview cost the then Duke of York the respect of the nation. Days after it, he announced he was stepping back from royal duties.
Wow.
Andrew is now disgraced, but when you did the interview, his standing in society was very different. How daunting was it to challenge him in the way that you did?
I think that was part of the thing. It was meant to be quite intimidating. You know, it was meant to remind me who I was talking to.
The prince has since turned pariah. Late last year, he was stripped of his titles, honours, style, even his home. Your interview was more than 6 years ago and it was huge, but it's really only in the last year that there has been any really firm action taken against Andrew. Did you think it might have happened faster than that? And in hindsight, do you think it should have?
Yes, and yes. We're still hearing that Congress might call him.
Do you guys think that they took too long to take his titles, to, to exile him? I do. That's the only thing that I agree with. I agree that they took too long in reprimanding him. If they knew in 2008, this is the tricky part with the royals, is that they knew in 2008 what was going on. And now we're in 2025 and they are just taking his titles from him. The shocking part about this whole ordeal is the fact that he was arrested and questioned. He was scared. Did you see the look on his face?
The Met Police might investigate, but I think it would be crazy for me to say this will happen now because, yeah, things don't happen very quickly.
In fact, Emily believes nothing would have happened and that the former prince may not have faced further consequences if it wasn't for Australian Epstein victim and Andrew accuser Virginia Giuffre.
So if it hadn't been for her memoir and her death and for what we can now see in front of us, the files, yeah, we wouldn't be at this place.
In your interview, but also beyond that, there was a clear effort to discredit Virginia Giuffre, saying that he'd never met her, that the photo was doctored.
He said the photo was doctored. He had never met her before. He doesn't have any recollection of Virginia. But he stood next to her and took a picture with her. He has a whole picture with her, a whole to-do-y picture. And he's in denial about knowing her or ever seeing her before or any girl of that manner. He's never seen anyone, but he spent the night with him. You've never seen any of these women that were surrounding Epstein. He didn't keep it a secret. That's the liathon. The liathon.
She eventually took her own life. Were you shocked that it came to that?
It was almost like she had to die to prove that she was telling the truth, which is a kind of repellent place to end up. You do not want these young women to have to say, what more can I do to convince you of what has been going on that you've been turning a blind eye to? They've told us their stories at horrific personal cost to themselves, and I kind of think it's now on us.
It's beautiful.
She was so interesting and he's such a good journalist. I could have spoken to her all day. And Emily Maitlis is actually coming out to Australia, speaking in Sydney and Melbourne. So if you are interested, look her up.
Okay. It gets worse, says Paula. New images of Prince Andrew. We saw that. I want to know what's going on with Beatrice and Eugenie. Don't you guys want to know what the daughters are thinking?
Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie reported to be in a state after the arrest of their father yesterday. There have also been friends of Fergie talking to the press, suggesting that there are concerns over her mental health, that she is under extraordinary strain. And there's no doubt.
Okay, so Fergie looks like she's under some mental stress. They said that she is being monitored because she is very stressed out. And she should be. She was the one that was getting in contact with whatchamacallit. The BBC interview would be exactly what would happen if they give him clemency to advise Congress. He would lie. Yes. A convenient place to stay, thousands of miles from home. Yeah, it's convenient. LL, you should write all your new words down and eventually create a dictionary. The Lady Letitia book of new words. I'll make up a word. I'll make up a word in a minute. Liathon. Dumb and Doolittle. Yeah. The liathon. It's the whole liathon. Oh boy. And now word on the curb is that Fergie ain't doing too good. She running around stressed out. You think they should ask her some questions? And if they do ask Fergie some questions, what questions should they ask her? Did you know that he was a PDF file? Did you accept his lifestyle as long as it wasn't your kids going through it? Disgust-a-do. That's another word. Disgust-a-do. Disgust-a-do.
They are under
Rocket
incredible
Little.
strain, given that those images that we saw yesterday of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor being arrested at Wood Farm on the Sandringham estate, that extraordinary photograph of him looking wild-eyed and shell-shocked as he left Aylsham Police Station after some 11 hours of questioning last night. We don't know where they are at the moment. Unlike Andrew, Fergie has actually done an okay job of lying low and keeping herself out of sight since this scandal.
You better lay low, lay low. Yeah, she needs to lay low because she's in some of these emails talking about she wants to marry Epstein and introducing her to her girls. It's, money hungry. Come to find out. Disgust-a-do. Yeah, don't forget to add the Jew. You gotta add, we're the Jews over here. Come and join us. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and become a member. You would love it over here. It's so much. It's so much to discuss over here. There's so much fun in the chat. It's so much fun. You can't miss it. And I help you pass the time during the day.
Erupted, not riding around on a horse around Windsor Great Park, for example. It's thought that she may have been spending time with one of her daughters, that she may have been in.
There she go, peeking out. Are you okay, Fergadoo? Let's call her Fergadoo. Fergadoo. Girl, we heard through the grapevine that you was all up on Epstein. It's a little disgust-a-do. Does the police in the UK have a copy of the unredacted files? I wonder. Good question, Pickles. Good question.
The UAE for some time. What she does next, though, it remains to be seen, because there's been a lot of discussion and suggestion over recent weeks that she's planning a big comeback, that she wanted to potentially write a book. I don't think that's going to happen now.
A comeback? Girl, you need to go somewhere in exile, because you and your hubby ain't looking good out here. Okay? It's not a good look. It's not a good look. And writing a book right now with your popularity and the way it is, it's not going to work out, Fergadoo. Tell Fergadoo to have a seat. Sorry about that. If you were going to write a book, you should have wrote it before this. And how are you going to write it after?
That she wants to carve out a new career for herself. She needs to make money.
She needs to make money. I would move in with my girls. I'd be like, move over. Mama need a place to stay. Daddy didn't the Royals didn't kick me smooth out on my face. Yeah. Does the police in the UK have a copy of the redacted files? Good question. Good question. But if I was Fergie, I would go stay with Beatrice or Eugenie. And then maybe in about 10 years or 5, when this crap of Doolittle has settled and calmed down, which it's not planning on calming down no time soon. None of this is calming down no time soon. So, but she needs to go do a hide-a-do. Go somewhere and do a hide-a-do.
But this is what this all comes back to. It's about money and greed. And that is why the Yorks are where they are today. It is impossible to imagine the humiliation that has been wrought on the entire York family by Andrew and Fergie's associations with Jeffrey Epstein. The emails that have come out where Fergie talks in the most personal and cringe-inducing terms about her daughters to a convicted paedophile is just beyond excruciating. And then to see their father arrested yesterday, I mean, it's hard to imagine what he's going through.
What do you think Beatrice and Eugenie is thinking about their father had got arrested? Like, do you think they're embarrassed, worried, or both, all the above? How would you feel? I would be mad at my dad, first of all, for being caught up into something like this. I would question him. And what were you doing over there? I don't know. I wouldn't be happy. I'm sure they've had that conversation of shame. They are embarrassed. Fergadoo. Yep, that's her new name. Fergadoo. Yeah, Fergadoo needs to go hide under a rock, girlfriend. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to hide out for a fewy dooey because your reputation is in the toilet, just like Meghan's. But you knew Fergadoo, and look at Andrew looking like he just saw a ghost. He looked like he just saw a ghost. He was in there for 11 hours. 11 hours. Imagine being in there that long, exhausted, tired, and hungry. I do too, CC. I do too.
Them minds right now, and those divided loyalties, actually, because he has brought monumental shame on the family, and not just this week, not just this year.
Monumental shame. Wow, they came up with a big one when they said that one. A monumental shame upon the family. This is the biggest scandal that has hit this royal family since. You can't compare this scandal to any other scandal that they've ever had. This is in a class all by itself. You know why? Because this is some bad stuff. Fergadoo need to get somewhere and set it down, girl. No, nobody want to see you right now.
Over years and years and years. But there are now increasingly questions being asked about what they knew and what they did about it. We, of course, know that Princess Beatrice was a part of the negotiations for the Newsnight interview. We now know from the Epstein files that
Beatrice is the one that told him to do that interview on the BBC like an idiot to do. Like, why would you tell your father to go on there and embarrass himself like that? Especially if he's guilty. He doesn't need to say anything. Because it's going to come out guilty. I never seen that girl before in my life. I don't know who I was standing next to. That picture isn't real. They don't have the real copy of it. That's a copy. Make it up, Andrew. Make it up as you go
Beatrice
along.
and Eugenie were taken to
Eighth
Jeffrey
in line to
Epstein
the
just
throne.
days after he was released from house arrest after his 2008 conviction. And at that point, they were not children. They were grown women. They're now more mature. They have families of their own. They have their own careers. But this stain that their father has brought upon them has spread.
This monumental stain that Andrew has put on the family is hurting everyone in the royal family. It's hurting everyone. No one is exempt from being scrutinized because of what Andrew has done. I just wonder what the Queen would be doing right now. She would probably be disgusted. She probably would have came out with a beautiful statement like I thought the King did, and talk about we're cooperating with law enforcement. What if they convict him and he has to do time?
Across the whole family, the Yorks, but the rest of the royal family as well. I'm in two minds about how we judge Beatrice and Eugenie, because they grew up in this world. They grew up with parents who had cultivated these relationships with some pretty unsavory characters, it now emerges. Jeffrey Epstein being the most infamous of them, but highly wealthy individuals with some pretty dubious morals.
Wow.
They were children throughout this. They grew up in it. But as adults, they have continued to carve out careers and relationships in the Middle East, for example. The royal family have been quite careful up until now to keep them within the fold, to very much protect them as young women, as innocent parties in this. But there are increasingly been questions being asked, including by Andrew Loney, who has spent 5 years researching this for his book about the former Duke and Duchess of York, that actually there is a degree of knowledge and potentially that there is more responsibility that should be placed on their shoulders. I don't know. I feel very torn on this, that, you know, if this is your family, these are your parents. You have always been loyal to your parents in a very close family. That is all blown up now. What do you do? And what do you do when you have concerns potentially about mental health issues as well? Can you turn your back?
Do you walk out on your father? Do you turn your back on your father? In this situation, guys, in this situation with Beatrice and Eugenie going through what they're going through with their dad and what he's being accused of, how do you turn your back on your father, even though he's a PDF? How do you love through that? I would love to get you guys' opinion on that. Really and truly. What are these girls supposed to do about their father? Because it's just going to get worse. Unless they go along and say that, just like King Charles, we're down with the investigation. Whatever they come up with is what they come up with, if he's actually done that. Hello, Diane. I heard she left the country. Who, Fergie? I would still unconditionally love my dad, but keep a fair distance and keep minimum contact. I get that. That makes sense. But look, even then, look how you would treat your father compared to the way Meghan treats her father. It is a disgrace. He's done nothing to her. And in this case, Andrew did something really bad. And like if your father has done something really bad, you would keep that communication at a minimum and you would still love him, but you don't want, if the relationship has changed. I totally understand that. I'm with you. I go with your answer, CC. His children are in between a rock and a hard space. These girls have a very hard pill to swallow. They do, and they're not babies. They're not babies anymore. It's easy if they were just kids, but they're adults, and they have to deal with the fallout. They have to deal with the fallout of their father's sins. Yeah, Meghan is all wrong on how she treats her dad based off of what we do know. Let me tell you something. Meghan is pissed off because Andrew's getting all the attention. Meghan is pissed off because Andrew is getting all the attention. Normally we're talking about Megadu, but we are not talking about her right now. No.
Because the shame is just so great. It's a very, very difficult question right now. I don't think there's very much sympathy right now for Andrew and Fergie. I think all of our sympathies really should be lying with the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein, who have largely been forgotten in all of this. And even where we are today, we are talking about the arrest of a man on suspicion of misconduct in public office. This is about two powerful men allegedly trading information for their own gain. This isn't actually anything to do with Virginia Giuffre's claims and those that have been made and largely ignored for more than a decade now by Jeffrey Epstein's victims. And I think there's a lot of anger about that. But potentially what we can see here now is that this may be the sort of legal entry route that police, having arrested Andrew yesterday, that he is now under investigation, that searches are being carried out at Norfolk and also at
twice. It was investigated twice, yesterday and again today. He is under investigation. He could go to jail. We could see him be convicted for the first time in our history. We could see a prince actually go to jail. Someone even said, word on the curb, life. But I heard that these crimes are hard to prove. I feel they saw things or may have been abused by him and told him to do the interview out of vengeance, knowing he would mess up. Interesting. Diane says, I'd be ashamed of my father's behavior and distance myself from him. For now, it would be my mom for sharing personal information, my information, and putting me and my sisters out there to entertain. Gross. Good thought, Diane. Thank you for sharing. Like M, she can write and sell her story. She is going to do that. Gross men, life in prison. I pray those other girls that were there testify against him. Tell us. Yep, they have a, yep. So they're being humiliated. What about a ticking time
What is arguably
bomb?
the biggest crisis for the
What about a ticking time bomb? You know, they're trying to see if Charles needs to step down. They're really discussing this. And the only one that could do that is Parliament, right? Like who has the authority to take the throne from King Charles? There's a lot of whisper, like Dan Wooden and these gentlemen, like here, how much did King Charles know? Or he needs to say more, you know, stupid stuff. But for the most part is, why would he need to abdicate and give up the throne for something he didn't do? He wasn't trading secrets with Epstein.
Monarchy since the abdication. Let's firstly get a word from Dickie Arbiter, former press secretary to the Queen and former royal journalist too. Dickie, good afternoon to you, sir. You've been around the royal block for decades, so you know how this whole thing operates. In terms of, and often when there's a scandal or when there's a headline or a story that isn't favourable to the House of Windsor in this case, we often talk about it being, nothing has been bigger than this. This is the worst ever. Where does the former Prince Andrew story rate in that pecking order of difficulty and scandal and for general concern about the future of the entire institution? Is it right up there?
Well, it's interesting because before the break, you mentioned the abdication. Now, the whole Andrew scandal is probably on a plane with that. Yeah. And that was over 80 years ago. So, it is high up. It is a scandal on Andrew. You did throw forward before the break that you didn't think the monarchy would last. Interesting conversation there. If I were interviewing you, I'd ask you, but you're interviewing me. So
I don't know. My point on it, Dickie.
They don't believe that the monarchy can make it through this scandal, that the walls of the monarchy is going to fail. I doubt that very seriously. King Charles is going to go and continue to do his business as the king. And Catherine and William are going to be doing their jobs as they continue to do what they're set out to do. It's not the end of the royals. I hate when people say that. So it's not the end of the monarchy because of this scandal.
I guess, is that I constantly, having been a great admirer of our former Queen, and I know you share that view as well, and I thought she ruled and executed her duties with such beautiful, calm authority and aplomb and all that goes with it. And there's almost no one that has a criticism in that respect. I wonder now that she is no longer with us, whether King Charles can command even 50% of that, and now hindered with things like the Andrew scandal, which you begin to put together with sort of Prince Harry, and then you look back at the Charles and Diana era and the Annus Horribilis and all that went with it. And I think the picture we build now looks slightly more irredeemable than anything I've seen before.
Well, the King's actually picking up everything that was left behind by his mother, because this whole Andrew scandal blew up near the end of her reign. In fact, it started way back at the beginning of the noughties. The Harry scandal began in 2020. Again.
Listen, King Charles inherited his brother's sins. Inherited it. When his mom died, he bears the burden of dealing with his brother's situation. And I think as a king, he's been handling, and as a brother, he's been handling it very well thus far.
And during the Queen's reign, and Charles is left with a ticking time bomb. I think he's handling it pretty well. People are saying, well, he should go up front in front of a camera. His mother did it. Why can't he? There's not a lot he can actually say without implying that he is interfering with the police investigation.
Of course.
So releasing a statement as he did yesterday and he did last week is probably as far as he can go at the moment without muddying the investigation waters. Is he going to be able to cope with it? Yes, he is. He is strong. He learned from his mother. He has the ability. He has that cancer to contend with, but he seems to be coping pretty well at the moment. So is it the end of the monarchy? Well, you might think it is. I don't.
When you were working for Queen Elizabeth, Dickie, was it apparent then that it's often said that Andrew was the favourite son? Did you detect that during those years?
I didn't detect that during those years. Look
at Donald Trump. Look at our president of the United States. Why isn't he being questioned? He's hanging out with Epstein. He's on a video. Should we be concerned?
One of the things, as far as the late Queen was concerned, her children could do no. I didn't detect that. During those years, one of the things, as far as the late Queen was concerned, her children could do no wrong, and if they did do wrong, she'd bury her head in the sand and wouldn't tackle it head on. That was usually left to late Prince Philip, because he was considered, while she was head of state, he was head of the family.
An idiot.
But, Andrew never let on what he was doing. Yes, he was photographed with dodgy people. He was photographed going onto Epstein's plane.
Don't be rude and disrespectful. That's not cool. I'm not an idiot. I do believe the king is doing a good job as the king. I really do. He keeps up with his duties, even though he's got cancer. He slimmed down the monarchy so he could get rid of Meghan and Harry. I mean, you got to get these little wins that he does and be thankful. I think he's doing a great job as a king.
Photographed on Epstein's
Look at
island.
this. Look at Andrew on the horse. Tone deaf. Okay? Just oblivious. No way, Jose. Get off that horse and get in that house and get somewhere and sit down. Because they're coming for you. Sit down, Andrew. Yeah, he's keeping the castle running. He's doing it. He's doing it with cancer and all.
Photographed on Epstein's yacht. And people say, how can a member of the royal family do that? But outwardly, was he doing anything wrong? No, he was just taking advantage of free holidays with dodgy people.
Yeah.
But this whole business of the sort of explosion that's occurred primarily since the alleged suicide of Jeffrey Epstein has really dragged Andrew right down and pushed him right top at the scandal level. So
yeah, it's not okay. They put him at the top. See, they didn't kick for Epstein to the curb by, I believe, unaliving him. And now they have made Andrew that person. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? That Andrew has taken the place of Epstein. He's in the hot seat. Wouldn't it be something if next week you woke up and then he's in jail? They didn't indicted him? That would be some crazy stuff. I knew my mom would know. Today, when I talked to her on the phone, I said, Mom, did you hear about Andrew?
Going back to your original question, can the king cope with it? Yes, he can cope with it. And in due course, I think he probably will at some stage come out and say something. But at the moment he can't, because what is there to say other than what he has already said?
Yes, why do everybody want him to come out and say something? What the hell is he supposed to say? Everybody, my brother just got out of prison, and now we're going to see what's next? Like, what the hell? He's already said there are cooperating with the police. Okay? What else could he possibly say as the leader of, I wouldn't have nothing else to say, because what has been said has been good. Look at the horse. Look at the horse. Yeah. I thought Fergie left the country. Britain. Is she with her kids? Because I heard they were all out of the country. That's what word on the curb.
You said, Dickie, that you think it isn't the end of the monarchy. I corrected myself slightly by suggesting it was maybe the beginning of the end, and that could be a decades-long journey. What are your main reasons for?
No, it ain't the beginning of the end. The monarch is going to be here thousands and thousands of years in the future. It's never going to be abolished. Why are they trying to kind of hint around to it? I don't like that.
Believing that it will continue, and given everything we've just discussed, I mean, the smart money would suggest
Yes,
it's at least got to
man.
change. What are your
Hello,
thoughts on that?
by the way.
Why would you still defend the notion that it will be there?
Well, firstly, you say it's got to change. Yes, it has got to change. But then the monarchy has been evolving for 1,000 years, and it has changed. And you sort of look at what the monarchy does today and compare to what it did 50 years ago, there's a vast difference. Yes, it has to change even more. There are fewer people on the monarchy payroll. So from that perspective, I think it will last. What people want in changes, well, probably they want more transparency. There's a lot of transparency now. They talk about royal finance. We don't know enough about it. Well, go online. You can find out about it. You can look at the annual reports of the Duchies of Lancaster, of Cornwall, and of the royal household. So, it's all there for people to see if they want to be bothered looking for it.
And just a final point, again, when you were working within the royal household, Dickie, and you would have been privy to all sorts of things. I wouldn't dare to ask you anything about that, and nobody should. But was there I hope reasonable to ask at least, was there a point that you ever looked at the kids, the prince and the princes and the princess, and thought, that Andrew, he's going to be trouble?
Oh, he was always going to be trouble. I mean, look at him getting off illustrious when he'd arrived back from the Falklands. There he is, sort of jumping off with a rose between his teeth. Yeah, he did a good job down there.
Yeah,
but
he is.
quite a few hundred others also did a very good job.
Said Diane.
He was a good helicopter pilot. Give him that. He was a rotten trade ambassador, but then he was employed by Tony Blair and subsequently by Gordon Brown, who's huffing and puffing, saying he's got to be investigated. Well, look into your own backyard, investigate yourself. Why did you keep the guy on if he was dodgy? So, things will come out. Things are trickling out. There are another 2.5 million documents still to be released. Will we see those at the light of day? And they're probably hiding American perpetrators rather than the British ones. And all we've seen so far is Andrew and Mandelson. There must be others. We've got the Clintons going before Congress.
What I find interesting is that Congress, every time they release them, they release Andrew with more pictures, but they're not releasing anyone else. That is just, that's that BS. Release it all. Release it all.
To testify, they probably cut themselves a deal. What about the hundreds of others? The focus of attention is unfortunately on Andrew. He has done wrong, and he's going to pay the price for it.
Dickie, it's lovely to have you on, sir. We will speak again soon, I hope. Still looking great, by the way. Nice to see you, Dickie Arbiter.
Yeah, he does look good.
Where does this story go next? Let's get a word from Wendy Joseph Casey, former criminal judge at the Old Bailey. Wendy, good afternoon to you. Nice to have you with us.
Wait, the cover up.
Robert Jobson has been
a cover up. Okay, listen, guys. I got a whole bunch of stuff in my repertoire. We have a cover up will cost King Charles's job. Monarchy will be held accountable. See, we just kind of went over that. Lives shock new pictures of ex-Prince Andrew with toddler. We saw that earlier. And Paula M has a video too. So which one of these do you guys want to watch?
Now, Robert Jobson has been a royal correspondent for over 35 years, and he's the author of the best-selling book about the royal family, The Windsor Legacy. He joins us now. Good morning, Robert.
Morning, Mark.
What might the legacy be of this scandal, Robert?
Well, it's death by 1,000 cuts. My personal belief is, I saw what Anne Widdecombe says earlier, and yes, of course, we have sympathy for the king. But there's several things that are quite important here, that this has been going on not in the last 6 months, this has been going on for around 16 or so years. And in that time, the royal family could have acted, could have done more, made more decisive decisions. And I fear that the more that comes out, the more damaging it will be for the monarchy as an institution. Not because they're guilty of any crimes, but because they're guilty of a cover-up at the very least. Because, look, let's look at this.
Oh, do you guys think there's a cover-up? I know, Cece. Good question. Is this a cover-up? Oh. What were they supposed to do? Now, I know they could have stripped him earlier and kicked him to the curb earlier. That could have happened. But as far as the crime, they wouldn't have known. They didn't even know he was being picked up. How would King Charles them know that Andrew has done something illegal unless he's been investigated? So to say that the monarchy was supposed to know, what was they supposed to know? What cover up? Now, I know that they gave the $20 million. I remember that, the 20 million, 12 million.
Hush money was paid, something like £12 million
There
was
it
paid
is.
to Virginia Giuffre over the civil case. Why was that money paid? Andrew at the time said he had no recollection of who the woman was. Why would you pay £12 million to a woman that you don't know who it is? And who paid that money? We understand from the Sun that it was the late Queen, whose legacy does come under question now.
That's
and
true.
Prince Philip, of course, they paid some money. They also wrote that Prince Charles.
If you're innocent, why would you pay that? You're only going to pay the 12 million unless you're guilty. Cece said there's always a cover up.
Now King paid some
There
money.
he
That was,
is. Taking a picture. Look how young she is. Andrew, not a good look at all. Look at this. Let me make it bigger so you guys can see.
not a statement wasn't issued, but that was said that it didn't happen. But there's a lot to answer for the monarchy here, and of course, as for Andrew being he's not, obviously he's an innocent man until court, but we know he's a proven liar because he said he never can. During the Newsnight interview, he said he cut all ties with Epstein in 2010, which clearly is not true.
Well, I think it's right that you're examining the actions of Queen Elizabeth II at the time, because yes, we must be sympathetic and.
Yeah, Hudson. Me and you disagree on this one. You believe they knew. Mm-hmm. No. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt until I find out for sure. Because there's no proof at this moment that lets me know, sweetheart, that Charles knew.
Understanding.
Look at his face now. He ain't looking like that. Look how he looking. Like he saw a ghost. Sorry. I didn't mean to spit.
But that she was an aged person at that point with a number of health issues, but she was compos mentis and she was the boss.
Point of view, though,
Well, she was, Mark, and we're talking about going back to 2010.
I definitely understand your point of view because a lot of people think like you. I think I'm the Lone Ranger in this. I feel like I'm out there on my own. The higher powers that are involved Great comment, CC.
And the Queen was very good. She was still traveling on international visits. She was very sharp. She had people around her that were very sharp. The decision was taken, I think, at the behest of her and Tony Blair's government to appoint Prince Andrew, as he was then, Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, HRH, as he was then, right at the heart of the monarchy. It's easy to distance him now That's only just happened. But in 2010, when the crimes or alleged crimes happened, he was at the heart of the monarchy, and that's the point. But the current king, when he was Prince of Wales, I understand, was very against the idea that Andrew becomes a trade envoy. He voiced his concerns, but he was outranked. He wasn't in charge. He wasn't the boss then. He would have not wanted his brother to do that. He felt that his brother wasn't qualified for the role, hadn't had enough preparation in the diplomatic world like he had to do that role. Now, they really should have listened to the king then, but he was outranked. And I think also Prince William, from what I understand, feels not enough decisive action was taken at the time by Her late Majesty, who did a brilliant job on screen. I don't wish to,
of course,
in any way, she was an incredible lady who did an amazing job. But obviously, her son, she was blinded by love for her son and the lies that he clearly told. I mean, because if it,
I don't think she was blinded. I don't think Queen Elizabeth was blinded. She was being a mother and she was being a queen. I don't believe that.
If he'd given out to both the king, current king, and the late queen, the information that has emerged from the Department of Justice emails, they would have obviously acted quicker.
And being lied to is no defense for a public institution. The Prime Minister has felt the heat, given the fact that he appointed Lord Mandelson. The Prime Minister's defense was that Mandelson was not honest about the nature of his friendship with Epstein. Well, that was no defense. And Starmer has been held accountable as a result. The firm should be no difference.
Well, I think this is the big problem, and if you've hit the nail on the head there, Mark, is that the royal family, there's a lot of deference has been involved with the royal family. I've covered the story for 35 years. They're protected by the Freedom of Information Act, which they don't have to answer to. There's the official secrets, all the deference and that goes on, and that proper questions are not answered. But I feel that what that actually has been to the detriment of the monarchy. I think it should actually be more. I think this moment in time, the king should have gone on television while he had a chance. I think he issued a very, very good statement actually, but I think it should have been read out, and I think so people could see the pain and see the honesty in his eyes and say, we're going to go forward. I will lead this institution with Prince William to another level of transparency and accountability. And whatever happens with this case, I assure you that on my watch, we will be open and honest, and there'll be more access to information. Because in all honesty,
where does this story go next? Let's get a word from Wendy Joseph Casey.
Look, check this out. It says that Andrew could be prosecuted. Okay? He could be prosecuted and spend time in some jelly well. Okay?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. I can't stay long. Hold on, let me find the daggone remote. Can you hear me?
As long as you can. It's good to see you. What would you like to say?
Good to see you too. As I was getting on, that gentleman just made a great point. Just because you didn't know is not an excuse.
Oh.
It's not. You're supposed to be the queen of that nation and multiple nations and all around the world. You say, oh, well, I didn't know. Excuse me?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I can't argue that one either.
What
You're
law
supposed
that
to
you
know
know
you're
of?
the leader. You
Exactly.
are in charge.
And like I wrote in the comments, I don't think she necessarily knew. She didn't have like a transcript of everything he did day to day, but she knew definitely that he was messing around with Epstein and them girls. She might have told him to stop, but of course she's not going to let it get too public because she doesn't only have to think about him. She has to, and she's used to too. Like since she became queen, she was used to putting the needs of the monarchy above her own, and that's the family. So she's thinking of not only protecting him, but protecting everything in between. Because imagine what happened. Imagine what would happen if that would have got out when it would start, like in the 90s, let's say. They would burn Buckingham Palace down.
Yeah, but to cover that up, that's not good. I'm having a hard time with that. Yeah.
But it's not unheard of. It's a very, very common thing for parents to cover up for their kids.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And he was second in line. He was second in line, and he was third in line. That got to be like a really tough cross to bear. But oh well. But you know, like I said, a lot of parents cover up for their kids, and she had a lot of, you know, things to think about. She had a lot of issues to weigh in between. So if I turn him in, all of this is going to happen. I need to just
turn him in because he was over there with Epstein, correct?
Yes, and any other little philandering that he did and taxes that he avoided and everything, just his shenanigans.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I would have waited for the law to come get him.
You are the law. You are the queen.
Yeah. But look, you know what's sad about the situation is that maybe some of those victims could have been saved if someone had spoke up.
Exactly. That's where my heart hurts, because I'm a mother of a daughter. And I love my daughter more than I love the queen and her reputation. And I'm a big fan of the queen. But I have to put these young ladies who were hurt, who were scared, who were, some of them kidnapped, the other ones manipulated, drugged, and come on now.
The whole 9 yards. Yeah.
That could have been my daughter. That could have been that could have been anybody's daughter. Are you kidding me? But they think they call us commoners for a reason.
That's a big cross to bear for me, to know that my sister was doing something she shouldn't have been doing, but who do I tell?
No, you would throw him in the jail.
I think they took too long in stripping him of his titles and stripping him of his stuff. I think they took too long to do that.
You know where I would have started if I was queen? I would have started with, of course, I would have lectured my son, but if my whole feeling is to guard his misdealings, I would have went for Epstein and his little crew and dismantling that.
Yeah.
That's the way she could have went. She could do that under the guise of anything. She could have somebody do it for her.
Well, it looks like something's finna go down because he could spend some time in jail. They're investigating him. They went back out there today and was going through his belongings and pulling stuff and getting whatever they wanted. Let's see what this lady's gonna say.
See, former criminal judge at the Old Bailey. Wendy, good afternoon to you. Nice to have you with us. In all your time sitting there with wig and gavel at the ready, sending people behind bars and fining them or whatever sentence you dispensed. Did this particular charge ever come up in front of you, misconduct in a public office?
No, it's very rare. You can walk around the Crown Courts in this country and see thefts and burglaries and sexual offences aplenty. Yeah. You won't see too many of these.
Yeah, indeed. And I understand the bar is actually quite high in order to prove to turn a charge into even a case, because it's a fairly skewiff, labyrinthine area to try and conquer.
Yeah, the problem is it's a common law offence, not a statutory offence. Yeah. If an offence appears in a statute, you can go to the Act of Parliament, you can look it up, you can see the definitions, you can read what the discussions were before it became law, and everything is clear or clearish. This is what is called common law, which emerges out of case law over a long period of time. And so you've got to go back to previous cases, and none of them will be on all fours with this case. We have never had anything like this.
Exactly. There's none.
It is rather interesting. And of course, the case yesterday of a senior royal being arrested. I mean, we've also never had that before. So,
right.
I mean,
well, we have. Charles I was.
Well, yes, I was thinking.
Never happened to him.
Yes, I mean, I don't know how old you are, Wendy, but I'm sure you don't remember that either. But yes, you're absolutely right. You've got to go way back. Is my point. And of course, in addition to that, you have this interesting, almost unthinkable situation, but it's how it should be that whoever you are, if you're arrested and taken into custody, I don't think there's not a special royal protocol for a regal arrest. It's the same as anybody else.
Beheading.
Yeah, I mean, if one wanted to be really pernickety.
Yeah. Beheading. That's what they did to Adeline Royals. You take them to the middle of town square and chop their head off.
Yeah, they would. Right there. Yeah.
And I'm sure Parliament knew too. I'm sure there's certain eyes in Parliament that definitely knew, but they know whose eyes shouldn't see this quote unquote paperwork. Burn after reading.
Oh, wow.
Like the local police officers ain't see, like here in the States, the local police officers are not seeing what the president is doing, even what the governor is doing.
Right.
Or reading or getting word on. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
The ruling monarch, so Charles III, is immune from prosecution, and I think also from civil.
He's immune. The king is immune. He cannot be prosecuted. He's above the law. Interesting.
As a young man, and think of like a man college age, knowing that he's the next in line and he's above the law, you think you're gonna walk? Like, are you kidding? Like,
huh?
I say, you think he's gonna keep his P's and Q's? You know you're above the law,
right? Yeah. Shoot. I can do anything without anyone coming and messing with me. Wow, King Charles.
Civil suits, but everybody else goes through exactly the same procedure. There isn't a cell with a gold-plated roof.
Did you hear? Ain't no gold cell with gold chains where Andrew gonna walk up into and get tea time for him. No. He went through the whole to-do like a regular criminal. Or a regular
technically
person.
he doesn't have. He's not a prince anymore. Only by blood, technically.
That's true. That is true.
Members of the royal family.
Well, that would be quite something, wouldn't it? And a place outside for a carriage and some horses, perhaps. I mean, that would be something. In terms of where this goes next, and this is interesting in the sort of legal world, I was trying to find out whether he was released on bail or just released pending further questions.
Me too. I was wondering that too. Was he released on bail? But he was in charge. So if he was in charge, there's no bail.
I sense it was the latter.
Yes. Not so very long ago, the police would either have charged him or released him on police bail, or said, "Nice to have met you, sir. Goodbye. We don't need to trouble you anymore." You may remember that there was a time when a lot of people were out on police bail, and they were on bail for months and sometimes years. There's a lot in the press about it, and a lot of complaints of the unfairness. And so a decision was made that there'd be an interim position between charge and being on police bail, which is this state of actually being in a position where you are under investigation. And so he's out there without any requirements on him, but he may be called back at any time for further interview by the police, and we shall have to see what happens.
Yeah. The speed that this happened was quite something. What do we extrapolate from that? Would there have been, lots of people, as you will be aware, I'm sure, are making the kind of Mandelson comparison that, the police did visit two of his homes, and we understand they took some equipment away, but he hasn't been arrested. Would that suggest, and I know this is speculation, but would it suggest that the police, the CPS, whoever, would have had to have had something already in order to knock on somebody's door at 8 a.m. and take them into custody?
Yeah, good question. They didn't have to arrest him. They could have simply invited him in for interview. He would have been free to have walked out at any stage, but they could have asked him questions. In order to actually arrest someone, it doesn't matter who it is, and it doesn't matter what the charge is, if you're going to arrest them, you have to have reasonable grounds to suspect that that person has committed the offence for which you are arresting them. And so they must have something which they believe meets that threshold.
Ooh.
That's what I was saying yesterday. If they just wanted to question him. They wouldn't have arrested him if they just wanted to question him.
Right. So they already have something on him, and now they want to get more of that and question him on the information they have on him. Wow, Andrew is in some serious freaking trouble. He does need all hands on deck. He's in some trouble. Wow, Andrew.
That's very far from actually charging him, which in its turn is a long way from a trial. But they must have had something that they thought took them far enough to carry out an actual arrest.
And would that have had to have been something more than just, we've seen these Epstein emails. I'm not talking about the kind of sexual stuff, this business that suggestions that the former Prince Andrew, when he was a trade envoy, had conversations with Mr. Epstein of a nature that would have overstretched and breached his position of trust in the office that he held. Would that be enough? I mean, that sounds, bearing in mind the Epstein files are throwing out all sorts of stuff and sadly diluting, I think, the real issue, because there's so much of it and you only had to ring a hotline number at the FBI to find yourself named in these files. So it was all, I'm not so sure releasing them as they did was a good idea, but that's maybe a separate conversation. Would it, in this case, have had to have been more than that in order to facilitate an arrest?
Well, I don't actually know the exact details of what was released. If, for example, there was an email which came directly or appeared to come directly from Andrew to Epstein, giving information that shouldn't have been given, and there was no reason to doubt that it actually had been sent by him, as opposed to John Doe out in America who was trying to frame something up. It is possible that would be enough to start the queries, but as you said earlier on, this offence is a complicated offence. It's not particularly difficult, but it is complicated because there aren't any definitions of what you have to actually prove. And they must have come to the view that there was reasonable grounds to suspect that the man they arrested was guilty of the offence for which they were arresting him. I can't tell you whether the actual emails or simply by themselves would have been enough, or in combination would have been enough, or whether they've got something else. But I mean, you don't have to be a lawyer. You certainly don't have to be a judge to say the CPS wouldn't be doing this without a lot of very careful thought.
Yeah, and I would have thought that we live in a very complex world where technology is simultaneously amazing and fantastic and makes things far slicker and faster for us all, and that's wonderful. But on the other side of that, when it comes to a police investigation, if somebody says, here's somebody's computer, iPad and phone, could you go through the last 15 years of communications with anyone? I mean, that's a time-consuming business.
Yeah. The whole investigation may, I'm not saying will, but may be quite slow, because one imagines that a lot of this material...
So, what does she mean by slow? Like it could be another month before we hear something new come about?
Probably more than that.
Oh, wow.
The little cases out here are like years long sometimes. The little cases out here. And I wanted to bring up a point too. Remember when the clergy members, when the heat got too hot for the clergy members and these little kids?
Yeah.
Stuff, these little boys? There was plenty of evidence that the Vatican knew. And that was kept away from us.
Yeah.
The Pope knew and everything. That was kept under, this was happening since there was black and white TV. Like, all that came out.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until recently that at least the last, I would say, maybe since the early 2000s when all that came out.
Yeah.
And this been going on since our grandparents, if not longer.
You're right. Wow.
And even Queen Elizabeth, her feet were put to the fire for that. And you know what? Never complain, never explain.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Material that they'll be looking for will be on electronic devices. The other thing, Ian, is of course we haven't seen everything that's coming out of America yet. There's a sort of drip.
Where? Ain't nothing come out of America. Everybody's on the down low.
Feed, and it's pretty bottomless as far as we can see. We have no control over the timescale over which it's released, and one doesn't know what more is going to come out of that.
well, it's not going to be, I mean, certainly objectively, it is incredibly interesting to follow. I would imagine from a legal brain's perspective, this is rather interesting too, Wendy, to follow this. It's not something we see every day.
Yeah, who cares?
They're gonna
They
pay
are
him death
still-
just like they did Epstein.
Yep. He better be careful. They could Epstein him.
Tell us what you know so far about this arrest.
Just a bombshell. So an absolute bombshell. Nobody saw this coming, particularly the royal family. King Charles was
What'd you say, sweetie?
I just said my girl. That's it.
You like her?
Yes.
Yeah, she's good. She's good.
not given the head
Like, what's going on?
up. This was a surprise. So the British police, they raided his home about 8 a.m. British local time Thursday morning. He was still in bed, I'm told. He was totally unprepared.
So they burst in.
They burst in. The police
Ooh,
burst
wow.
in to the palace.
They burst in, Hudson, like boom, and got him out of his undies. He was in his underwear. Jeez.
He is now staying in Sandringham, which is about 3 hours north of London. He'd finally been kicked out of the Royal Lodge. He was moving to this kind of fancy farmhouse. They call it a farmhouse, but it was a big palace. But while that was being renovated, he was staying in a different cottage on the estate. Unmarked cars, unmarked police people. They were not in uniform. They broke in at 8 a.m. They arrested him. They took him off to jail. And while that was going on, Maureen, they also went to at least two other properties, to make sure they secured whatever evidence they're looking for.
Now, what does it say, Rob, that the police did not give the palace any kind of a heads up, did not give the king any kind of a heads up?
Yeah, lots of things. First of all, it says here that maybe they didn't trust the king. The king has been very slow to respond to his brother's outrageous behaviour. His mother, the great Queen Elizabeth, somebody I deeply admired, she too kicked the can down the road when it came to this very, very troubled son, who was her favourite son. So maybe that was why. So the king wasn't told for several reasons. One, I'm not sure they totally trusted him. Two, and this is really interesting, he's no longer royal. He's been kicked out of the family. He's a private citizen.
Right.
So what would it say if the king was given a heads up on a private citizen who's been accused of abusing his power because he's part of the elite? It would look terrible. The optics would look absolutely terrible if the king had any heads up here. So they did this behind the king's back. I think too, there was a fear that Andrew might flee. We've talked about him looking into the Middle East. It's not that unusual. The former king of Spain is in the Middle East after.
Pause it for a second. How did Fergie and the girls get to the UAE? How did they get over there to the Middle East if they didn't know? Somebody knew. His back was just.
Oh, you think they went over there because they knew?
Yeah, because you can't be extradited over there.
Oh wow.
UAE.
You think he would have flew? Do you think he would have been a flight risk, Hudson?
Of course.
Whoa. See, I didn't see that coming.
He's not no upstanding citizen. Like, he's not a man of morals.
So he could have easily went to a different country, and one of those Commonwealth countries, and just been in exile over there, and then they couldn't even extradite him back.
Yeah, I think he knew though. I think that he knew, or he knew that it was on the table. He may not have known when they're gonna strike.
Right.
But he knew it was coming.
So you think Andrew knew they were coming?
Mm-hmm. How did Fergie and his daughters get over there?
Okay, you did say that. Yeah.
And he's very pompous, and he thinks highly of himself.
He does. He's arrogant.
Very arrogant. He's like, oh
my
come.
God.
But they're gonna tell me the second before they come. And can you imagine all the stuff that he was thinking? Like, I'm gonna pack slow. I'm gonna make sure that Fergie and the girls set up shop before I come, because they'll never. Oh, it's just the common police and all this other nonsense. I'll go when I feel like it. He's shuffling his feet around. They sprung up right on him.
Yeah, he's cocky. Yeah. Yes.
He fled the country. And so there are places in this world, unfortunately, where these rogue royals, if they can get out and they can get there, can still live very well.
This to me also says, I just think it's a terrible look for King Charles. You just told me before we came to air that the king says that he will not abdicate.
No, absolutely not. So this has been a big discussion today in Britain. It's going to get louder. My insiders in the palace tell me all day long there's been emergency meetings, phone calls, Zoom calls. The Queen's been on them. William's been on them. Princess Anne too has been on them. And their younger brother, Prince Edward, that we don't talk about enough. They've all rallied behind the king for the moment. He truly believes that he is king because God ordained it. God wanted
king, and he should stay king. Yes.
him to be king. And when you were taught that from the day you were born, you had a really perverted, a really different view of the world. So this is a job he wanted, for 70 years? He's finally got it. But I think too, and this is interesting, William, who's coming out as the hero of this messy situation,
yes,
William knows that if there's an abdication right now, the crisis only increases.
Yeah.
They're looking for some stability. What I'm hearing is absolutely no abdication now,
Yeah.
but maybe in 6 months, maybe when this Andrew mess is sorted, maybe after he has been found guilty, maybe after he's been found innocent. We don't know what the result is going to be, but then the royal family at this moment, they need to circle the wagons. They can't have a throne without a king on it. And so I think for the moment, he's going to stay put.
This is what I predict. First of all, several things. As you mentioned, Prince Edward is married to a woman who worked in public relations. So I would hope that she would be in on those phone calls. We know that William has been greatly frustrated with his father and his inertia, his conflict avoidance. If you think God really ordained you to be king, then you should think God would have equipped you with the ability to make some necessary decisions in order to save the very throne that you have lusted after these many years.
Yeah.
And so off he goes the day that Andrew is arrested to London Fashion Week, where he sits at a fashion show front row next to none other than Stella McCartney. And Rob, I don't know about you, but I think this is a terrible look because Epstein.
I don't think so. I think it's business as usual. So we're not going to stop because a family member keeps doing stupid stuff. No, he's in jail. He's where he needs to be. And I'm going to go on to where I need to be. That they can't let him stop them from living. I agree with him for going.
I don't. Because this is not only, I could see if they were just a family. This is not only a family. This is a dynasty. These are rulers.
Right.
He has to go, there's stuff that is in jeopardy if he just kicks it with
Don't
Stella
show
McCartney.
up. Right.
And then that also looks like to the public, like they don't even care.
Right.
They gotta keep up appearances.
I'm expecting you to be somewhere and then you don't. Hello, Michelle and Erica. I'm expecting you to show up and then you don't show up. How rude.
No, I'm not talking about the fashion. I'm talking about the he should send his kindest regards and handle what's going on with his brother.
Well, like send someone in his behalf.
No, we're talking about a fashion show. This is not
That's what this is, a fashion show.
Yeah, they're saying the fashion show. He showed up to Fashion Week. This is like no like important.
So they wasn't expecting him. They wasn't expecting him.
No, they probably were, because you have to be RSVP'd, but it's something that could have hung, you could say oh, I can't make it, and I think they will understand. This is it's a fashion show. It's not like he was meeting with dignitaries and he can't go back on that. He has to do that. You can't leave a fashion show to handle what's going on in your kingdom.
What is he supposed to do? What is he gonna do when his brother's in the jail?
You think his brother is not the only thing to worry about with this.
So you think him going to the fashion show, period, isn't a good look?
No, not at all.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh.
Because they're not just a family. They're, like I said, it's not just a family. I can see if it was your brother or my brother, and I'm going to do what I need to do. I'm going to keep living my life. Like you said, living my life. Your life is the dynasty. Your life is the monarchy.
Figure out why the fashion show is a big no-no. Yeah.
Would you go, if my parents pass away or my mother passed away or something like that, I'm not going to say, well, I'm just going to go to the fashion show.
That's different. Someone's dying. Yeah. But someone's in jail. No, I'm gonna probably go.
It's not just his brother that's in jail though. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of sparks that's like this puts everything in jeopardy.
Oh,
It's not just his
does.
brother, because look at all the questions that's going on now. Look at all the stuff that's going on now. People are gonna start digging in his records, and because his brother just lost his titles. Your people's gonna have a lot of questions themselves of when he was Prince. Your whole house could be burning down.
Okay. Yeah, Michelle, I thought his speech was good.
Trafficking models. Okay, the modeling industry is rife with this shit. And by the way, Naomi Campbell's in for it too. She's implicated in this shit. This is the last place I would put the king.
Yeah, Maureen, you're so right about this. The only thing worse about this fashion show is that Naomi Campbell could have been walking in it. She wasn't, thank goodness. But I think that what the palace is doing, and they're always so clumsy about this, they want to show that the king is not hiding, that he's getting on with his daily life. However, the king has never been to a fashion show before, ever. So to suddenly decide to go to a fashion show today, which is really a central pillar of the Epstein case. You know, I worked with a ton of celebrities, including in the introduction, Princess Michael of Kent.
That's true. The fashion industry, and I know this from working with them, the fashion industry is like it's an escort service.
Oh.
All them y'all girls are models and everything. Like, are you kidding me? Even that's like the top one.
Oh God. That is sad.
Well, let's see. Full disclosure here, I was Naomi Campbell's publicist for many years here in America, and I met Jeffrey Epstein backstage at a Victoria's Secret show.
What year was this?
This was in the early 2000s, 20 years ago, and I was backstage at Victoria's Secret with Naomi, not easy, and Jeffrey Epstein. It was very unusual. That place was on lockdown. It was very hard to get backstage. They didn't want people back there. Jeffrey was backstage. Naomi knew him, so she's now saying that she didn't, but maybe the most famous British supermodel of all time, Naomi Campbell.
A groundbreaking supermodel, aside from Iman, but she's had, I think, a longer career than Iman as the first true black high fashion supermodel who still works today. And she's been photographed with Epstein. You cannot lie your way out of a photograph. Andrew tried. It didn't work.
Yeah, I can't. It puzzles me, the palace here today. He would have been better off going to Starbucks. They couldn't find a hospital he could go to.
Exactly.
Just a stroll in the park. Just go.
They both agree with you, Hudson. Yeah.
But have a stroll in the park. Like, if we need to get a photograph of you today to prove that you're not hiding, and that's what they're doing here. I was a publicist for a long time. They don't want to look as if the king is out of commission. The king is in hiding. The king has something to hide from the public. So they were looking for an event. There are many charities in Britain. There are many soup kitchens. There are many homeless shelters. There are many hospitals. There are many children's organizations. Go there. Don't go to London Fashion Week.
Maybe also don't go to children's hospitals right now, I would say, because the Daily Mirror is reporting a few blockbuster stories that are just beyond the pale. One of which just posted that Andrew is accused. This is part of an FBI file from July 2020, I believe. He is accused of watching a young girl between the ages of 6 and 8 be tortured with electric shocks. It is stated in this file that the person doing the torture was Ghislaine Maxwell. The same article reports, now they say, the second graph then says a woman, not a girl. So I don't know if this was something that they were doing often with different victims, but that one of these torture sessions took place. This I'm reading from the piece. The allegation, which emerged in the Epstein files released just weeks ago, asserts that the electric shocks were administered at Frogmore Cottage in Windsor, Berkshire. This is where Harry and Meghan used to live. They are not implicated in this in any way, but I'm saying, how does the king survive this for real, Rob, if this is true?
I don't know.
Wow, do you believe that? Sure.
Absolutely.
He does, because
I know, I thought you would. Yeah. Wow. That is something interesting.
the question is, what did he know and when did he know it?
Exactly.
And he's not going to answer that. And also, too, Andrew, who's a slippery devil, Andrew's been using that to get his own way. People say, why did Charles not cut him off? And I told everybody, because he knows everything. Andrew knows everything. And an unleashed Andrew, an Andrew in jail, is even more dangerous. That's why the king has been really careful here. If it comes to light, if it is proved.
Yeah.
The king is not, his hands are not clean. These people, his hands are not clean. These people believe that they are a totally different, almost species to us. They're not going by our rules. They do
Yeah.
what they want. And look at the way he treated. All you gotta do is, like, look at his history. Look at the way he treated Diana. Look at all them nasty, them nasty phone calls and messages he was leaving Camilla. Who
Yeah.
knows? Who knows what was going on?
Yeah.
And Andrew, throw him in jail. What's the first thing he gonna do? Sing like a canary.
I heard of that already, Nathan, the Jimmy Savile. I don't think Charles had anything to do with what Jimmy had going on. I think you said that yesterday, Nathan.
How old was Diana when they got married?
Wasn't she like 18? I heard she was young.
Yeah, she was like 18 and he was like, what, 32, 37?
Wow. She was a baby. He was like an adult.
The torture, the trafficking happened in a royal palace. This doesn't just shut down the king, this could shut down the family. Maureen, I'm not being over dramatic here. In my lifetime, I've never, ever seen a crisis as big as this for the palace, even when Princess Diana died.
This is the biggest crisis they've ever had. It is. And
for that week, it looked a little wobbly. The Queen wouldn't come back from Balmoral.
Yeah.
She wouldn't lower the flag. Eventually she did. And she did rebuild trust. This needs a whole new, fresh start. William and Kate are the future of this family and everybody else are implicated. This is important though too. And I love when we talk about it because we get deep on your show. Who's paying for his defense? I hit the phones. Who's going to pay for Anne? It's going to be multi-million dollars. This is going to be a really detailed, tough legal case. He doesn't have any money. Part of the reason, apart from the fact he was a pervert, part of the reason he was with Jeffrey Epstein was for the money. Who's paying for this? If the king gives 1 penny to his brother's defense, all bets are off. The Brits will.
He can't. He absolutely.
Oh,
and look at Diana. Look how terrified that woman was to the point where she didn't even want to use palace security. She knew what time it was. Why do you think they wiped clean her interview?
The one she did?
Yes.
We should do that one day.
If you could find it, we can only find bits and pieces.
Really?
Yes.
I know. Okay.
I bet you they're the one that took down the Oprah interview too. Oprah never took down an interview.
We found it. Hudson, we
it's
found the
there.
video. It was on X. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know, but she took it off of her website. Nowadays, we could just record stuff. Back in when Diana was princess, when she did that interview, there was no internet.
Right. I'm going to see, because I think Demon Dictator might have a copy of that interview, and we wanted to go over her interview.
She said they're trying to off me. They have everything bugged. They have spies everywhere. They're doing this. They're doing that. Like, she was terrified of these people.
So, do you think, Hudson, that if he helps with his defense, that he would get into some trouble?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Even Nicki Minaj is getting in trouble now for helping her brother with his defense.
Who?
Nicki Minaj. She still is catching flack for helping her brother with his defense. I think.
What did he do?
He essayed his stepdaughter.
Wow, this is so tricky.
They found his let's just say excrements in her underwear.
That is so sad. That is horrifying right there. I see why now. I see it. Yep. Uh-oh.
No, but he gave $1 million to the lawsuit to settle against Virginia Giuffre. So when Andrew paid that $12 million in the civil case, $1 million of that came from the king.
I mean, I'm my jaw is on the floor over this stuff. The Daily Mail is also reporting that not only Fergie, who's now in hiding and who it seems like is trying to arrange her own flight out of the country because she's probably next. Let's get real. Slept with Jeffrey Epstein and was wildly in love with him. This is per the Daily Mirror. I mean, these people are so disgusting. And Fergie, as we know, in a correspondence with Epstein, was writing about her daughter Eugenie going to New York to have a, quote, shagging weekend.
Yeah.
It's just disgusting. This is why this story's not going away. This will end up being one of the most disgusting, most disturbing crimes in world history, not just American history. But Fergie's an interesting person here. She's long time been a grifter. She's not really had a job for many, many decades. But I hit the phones and I spoke to some sources, legal sources and police sources in Britain. My father was a policeman. My sister was in the police force. And so I know police people pretty well. I grew up around police people. And so I spoke to my sources in London and they told me that Fergie's already spoken to the police and they probably won't arrest her because she will be a witness.
So she's flipped for her own security so that she will avoid. This is unbelievable. I have to imagine that Prince William is enraged at the moment. Enraged.
Yeah, and not just that his uncle, his dad. Charles,
that's what I mean. That's exactly what I mean.
Charles Sturch, I hope I can say this word on your show, is such a pussy. He is. He's just such a weak man. He's just got no spine. And now this has bit him in the bottom. And the job that he wanted all his life, he could potentially lose. I think he should lose that job at the moment.
I do too.
I think it's over. I think you've ruined hundreds and hundreds of years of history by doing nothing. You knew about it and you did nothing.
We're looking at a monarchy that saw Henry VIII behead two of his wives, Queen Anne throw her sister Queen Elizabeth in the tower and threaten to kill her. And, but this almost makes that stuff look quaint. It happened so long ago and people were crazy then. And but like this feels deliberate. It feels heartless. It feels complicit. It feels so beyond criminality. I don't know how you can have Charles they're supposed to come to the United States this summer for the 250th anniversary of American independence. He's not going to be welcome here. He's not.
No, it's a real curse here. And let me just put this into some sort of historical perspective. The only
that's just rude. Now he's not going to be. She's talking about King Charles, right?
Yes. Letitia, how could you say that's rude?
Because I still don't believe he knew. I'm still on that notion, but she thinks he did. Is that why she said that he would be booed?
Yes, Letitia.
Yeah. If
he didn't know, that's a problem as well. And they were American citizens. Did you read Virginia's book?
No, I haven't read her book.
Girl,
I think we need to spend some time with the victims, though. Hudson, you're absolutely right about that.
It's on Audible. You could listen to it while you're like cleaning and stuff like that. Get that book, girl.
I also there's this other, I think, a documentary on the victims where they're just all speaking out. I may play that one day.
King, the only king that has been thrown off the throne and murdered, killed, beheaded, was King Charles I. So these King Charles have to be really, really careful. It's just a tragedy of Shakespearean proportions.
That's that stupid stuff. He didn't say he's going to be thrown off and beheaded.
No, he said there was the first King Charles was thrown off.
Yeah. But almost insinuating that this could happen to this one. The dirty boys.
I like William and Catherine too, but at this point, they're good with me at this point. I'm not saying that they knew because they're from a different generation, but I still, nothing would surprise me with the whole family. Nothing would surprise me at this point.
Oh.
I'm not putting anybody. I'm not putting anybody on any type of pedestal because they are taught from day one, when they come out the coochie, that they are on an elite level. They are ordained by God. They didn't grow up like we grew up. They don't have the same morals. They don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I would per se putting them on a pedestal, but I would say I have been giving them the benefit of the doubt. That's for sure. Because, and I put myself in their situation and wonder, what would I do as far as like once I found out, because they knew in 2008 that I think they took too long in stripping him of his titles. That's for sure. Yeah.
Watch the Vatican, some of the documentaries of what happened with the Catholic clergy and them little boys and little girls. Watch that too, because the Vatican is in the same bed with the monarchy. That's why people were looking at Queen Elizabeth sideways when all that was going down. Now that is something that she really could have just
So do
handled
you
the way
think
she
she
did.
knew about that too?
Of course.
See, yeah.
Watch the documentary, please.
Okay, yes, I am.
Find
I
a couple
am
of them.
listening.
No, I'm sounding dramatic. I know I'm sounding over the top. I was just in Britain
Yeah,
last week.
you
Everybody
were.
was talking about Andrew. Nobody, including Andrew,
You're over the
thought he was
top.
going to be arrested. I have a story breaking on my Substack soon that says just 2 days ago, he was demanding that his horses get transferred from the Royal Lodge to Sandrington. He is missing his horses. They only have race horses at Sandrington, and he wanted his horses that he could ride in the clueless. He's absolutely clueless. He had applied to a local golf club to become a member just a few weeks ago. And now, thankfully, his world has been turned upside down. I'm hoping my reporting is right here.
That's that stupid stuff. No, he didn't. One of his horses transferred. There he go again, doing stupid stuff. Listen, do you know how much trouble you're in? Get somewhere and sit down and stay off them horses. That's why you got kicked out. Lord.
Every other time he's been in trouble, the monarchy has covered for him. He really is living on they really are living on another planet.
Yeah, you're right. They do cover for each other.
And that's why I want you. That's the main reason I want you to find a documentary on the clergy and stuff like that, because it'll show you how for all these years the Vatican covered all these people.
Jesus.
That's the most important part.
Oh my goodness. Okay. This is done. Check this out. Now they're questioning Eugene and Beatrice. What did they know? You think they knew too?
Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie reported to be in a state after the arrest of their father yesterday. There have also been friends of Fergie talking to the press, suggesting that there are concerns over her mental health, that she is under extraordinary strain. And there's no doubt that they are under incredible strain, given that those images that we saw yesterday of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor being arrested at Wood Farm on the Sandringham estate, that extraordinary photograph of him looking wild-eyed and
he looks like he is just not doing good at all. Wow.
It's been said that Fergie was telling Jeffrey, you could have one of my daughters.
Yeah.
So of course they knew.
She knew. Yeah. I wonder if they're going to question her.
No, the girls knew too. They were hanging out with Epstein.
Wow. Everybody knew.
All that weird stuff in his house. But he's not the only one. That's the thing. This is their normal life.
Yeah. Like, how can you think this Papa Doolittle was okay? Sickness of it all. He may have ruined the royal family. He may be the very one that has shut it down. Shut it all the way down.
Those horses that he asked for, that's what we are to him. Just like them horses that he asked for.
They are looking at King Charles's position and trying to see if he is capable, with what's going on with his brother. Not even that. They believe that he knew Everybody believes that, except, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, but I'm starting to creep over there to the other side.
'Cause look, he might have not have witnessed anything, but they run in the same circles. They're from the same generation. You like your brother, your siblings' friends, or even like
Yeah,
cousins and stuff like that.
but I heard that they didn't hang out.
Yeah, they may not have hung out, but you like. I have an older sister. She's 10
Yeah.
years older than me. I may not have hung out with her and her friends, but we've communed together. We've been in the same vicinity. They would talk to me. If they knew something was going on with my sister, they would say something. Like,
Yeah. And see, me and my sister would hang out, so I would know what was going on.
And who's to say that they weren't hanging out?
In the news recently, word on the curb. I call that word on the curb.
How did they figure that?
Didn't
they go to the same schools?
They lived separate lives. I don't know why they were discussing that, but it was a big deal. They were talking about it earlier.
They went to the same schools. They have the same mother, same father, and was reared in the same house. How separate could their lives be?
That's true. How separate could it be? And then they were probably doing the same engagements.
The same weirdos were probably coming up to both of them. The rug dealers, because the elite class is not that big either. And they have the same cousins. Same neighbors, same cousins. Like I said, same schools, same sports.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So you think this could go on for another couple of years where we don't hear nothing?
I mean, there will always be questions. They could find a way.
Yeah.
They could find a way to extinguish the fire on their behalf, like raging right now.
Yeah.
Like they did with the Vatican. I don't think it's ever going to end, but what's their motto? Never complain, never explain. Never explain, never complain. They're just not going to say anything at one point.
Not working right now because they're going to have to do some explaining. They did have to come out, like King Charles did need to come out with a statement, and he did. But people think that that's not even good enough.
No, they come out with these one-page statements. My bad, or I'm sorry that happened to you. Anyway, cheers.
Oh, wow, that's how it came across.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Hmm. Wow.
I definitely would think that Charles would know before the Queen would. But I definitely believe they both knew, because when people complain, like say something happened to a child and their parents alert the government or the local authorities, how far you think the Crown is going to let that go? You think the local authorities are not going to tell somebody?
Right.
And they're going to send it straight to Buckingham Palace instead of all the steps in between?
Right. It'll go right to the palace.
You could be working in a Walmart somewhere. When something happens, there's a bunch of people in between that don't know. When someone gets arrested, you see these I like to watch the cop videos. If an employee gets arrested, you may get a little gossip, very little, but you're not going to know what happened. The higher ups would, and the corporate office would.
Princess Diana was a liability to the royal family. She knew too much. See, I don't think that they unalived her. I don't.
I don't think that either. I think they might have let her unalive, but I don't think they were at fault.
Yeah. Hmm.
Is it possible? Yeah, it's possible. But with what I know of what happened, the information that got back to me,
Yeah.
because once again, the trickle down, the information that they let get down to me, a common woman in America, it seems like it wasn't their fault. But that's the message that was brought to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So who knows if that was even? Who knows if she even really died there? Like stuff gets stuff gets turned around so much. It gets changed. It gets put a pretty bow on it, and now send it off to the commoners.
Wow. I was watching. Yeah. So his daughter was one of the 5 he was offering. What are you talking about, Cece? I read this story about this lady that was visiting her father. She was British, and he shot her. They had an argument, and they were arguing about Donald Trump, and he shot her. And they did, trigger warning, they did not indict him, but I think they're categorizing it as an accident. But anyway, I thought that I did a live on it the other day.
Look at Jean Bonnet.
I'm sorry.
I said, look at Jean Bonnet.
I know. Look at that story. Do you think that was an inside job, Hudson?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think her brother did it. By accident.
I think you're the second person that said that, or the first. Wow.
I think her brother was playing around and bopped her right upside the head, and that was all she wrote. Because if you look at their house, there was snow around the house and not a footprint anywhere.
So who was all in the house that night?
The father, the mother, and the kids.
And the uncle?
That was earlier in the night. That was earlier. They had a party earlier. But
Right.
everyone left.
Wow.
A small kickback, but everyone left. And in the middle of the night, she was still alive. When they left, she was still alive. And her and the brother were getting a midnight snack with the mother. And her brother was known to be like very rambunctious, like a Ritalin child. And
yeah.
I believe that he bopped her on the head because they used to play fight. They're kids. You know how siblings are.
So you think the mom helped covered it up?
Yeah, because she didn't want her son. That's what I mean. She don't want her son going through all that. Parents cover for their kids all the time.
Right. Oh yeah.
They'll hide them and everything. Who wants to go through all that? Imagine what you have to go through. If I would still handle it the proper way, but I could see where parents are conflicted with that. Imagine what you have to go through if one of your kids off another one, or it's some big deal. Like Charles Manson's parents, or Ted Bundy's parents, or that's a big cross to bear.
Yeah, it is.
People will hate you too in the street. They will hate you like you're them. You
Yeah.
gotta love your kids but know what they did. You gotta ask yourself, should you love your kid? Am I wrong for loving my kid? He did something terrible.
Right. Well, guys, I think I've talked you guys' ears off about Andrew, and we'll find out what's going on with Nancy tomorrow because there's no new updates. Let me just check real quick just in case.
Okay, well, I'm going to step down. Thank you for having me. Thank you for listening, guys.
Thank you for coming. You got to come again.
Yes, I know I'm a ball of energy. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm from New York. But thank you for having me.
You got to come every time, Hudson. I love you up here. I love your
definitely
perspective. I really do. I love your perspective. And it really brings a different side to it. And I love that. So
I love your
come
perspective
anytime,
as well.
okay?
Yes, thank you. I love your perspective as well. I love to get the other side of things. Because, you know, you may be right. They may have not known. So I love to weigh all options.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. All right, but let me step down. Thank you.
Bye, lovely. Okay, so I don't know what this is.
Just to be clear, that in the UK, there are very clear restrictions on what people can say because of concerns about contempt of court. And the idea is that everybody should have a fair trial and nothing should prejudice that fair trial. So what the king has done, he's come out and said, okay, look, let justice take its course. Nobody's above the law, including his brother. But the important point is this, and just to clarify a number of things, there are very strict restrictions.
Isn't what I
So the
wanted to show
Thames
you
Valley
guys.
Police, they say they arrested a man in his 60s from Norfolk, and it's actually Andrew's 66th birthday today. He's in custody. Searches continue at properties in Berkshire and Norfolk. And they issued this statement. As part of the investigation, we have today arrested a man in his 60s from Norfolk on suspicion of misconduct in public office and are carrying out searches at addresses in Berkshire and Norfolk. The man remains in police custody at this time. We will not be naming the arrested man as per national guidance. Please also remember that this case is now active, so care should be taken with any publication to avoid being in contempt of court. That said, he's been named by his very brother, the King of England, to say that it's his brother, it's Andrew. So we need to look at that sort of side.
That is interesting. And you know, as you were talking about that, Andrew, we've become familiar over the years of the protections that the royal family gets in the media. And there are things that you can't report on related to the royal family. Andrew doesn't get any of those protections anymore, right? I mean, I get that the police did not say the name because that's what they just normally do, but he's not going to get any of those protections that the royal family does as far as the media covering this.
Yes, I'm not sure, just to pick you up on that, I'm not sure the media have restrictions in terms of what they report about the royal family. In fact, they report an awful lot, which I'm sure the royal family wouldn't be happy to hear reported. But the principle is this, though, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is being treated as anybody else would be treated in these circumstances. There are procedures that need to be followed, and it goes back to the central point that nobody is above the law. The key point in all of this is justice should not just be done, but should be seen to be done. And I always say trust comes in on foot and leaves on horseback. And trust in the police, in the media, in the royals is perhaps at an all-time low. So what the royals are recognizing, what other people are recognizing, is absolutely the due process must be followed. But we have to absolutely emphasize that until there's been the due process followed, everybody is assumed innocent until proven guilty.
The interesting thing to me, and you know, I'd love to get your perspective on this, is it just feels like the royal family cannot put enough distance between it and Andrew, and that coming out with a statement this quickly by the king, even before that Andrew is named by the police, kind of underscores that, you know, the royal family knows that they're not exactly embraced by everybody in the UK, and they just want to create as much, you know, space between him and them as they possibly can.
It's a very good point, and as you rightly say, I speak on more platforms than Paddington around the world about legal matters, as well as what goes on in the press and the royal family. And it is no surprise that Andrew's an embarrassment to a lot of members of the royal family. He's been stripped of his titles He's been banished from the Royal Lodge, this 30-room mansion in Windsor. He's now making his residence at Sandringham Estate, which is where we understand the arrest might have taken place at 8 o'clock this morning. But it's going back to that sort of side, and as I say, sunlight is the best disinfectant.
It sounds like almost like an insider trading type thing in the United States, where he's giving information that he shouldn't give, and the consequences of a conviction, as I said, life in prison, that's huge. So can you kind of describe, and I know you haven't read allegations and they may not have formally written them, but broadly, you know, given his position, what he's seemingly accused of doing?
Well, the essence, and I can talk about it in general terms, as they say, because of the very strict rules, but the general thing is about sharing confidential official material. It would be with Jeffrey Epstein during his time as a UK special representative for international trade and investment. And what that is, it would be, if that were the case, it would be potentially a very serious abuse of a public office. Obviously, Andrew has...
No, hell no, this ain't going nowhere no time soon. Andrew's in some serious trouble. Yep. Yes. Yes, I do. I'm not going to keep you lovely people too much longer. I just wanted to get an update on Nancy Guthrie, but we're getting through the red tape of Andrew.
Has always denied any wrongdoing. But the legal position, what it is, it's called misconduct in public office. It's what's called a common law offence. The standard of proof is exceptionally high, they need to do, but it's basically abusing public trust to a serious degree, which again is a very, very high threshold. But as you said at the top of the show, and I've made the point on various media outlets,
Charles would have never been allowed to get married again if Diane was living. Interesting. Michelle Lee says the news has reported a while ago that it is believed that Jean Bennett's brother killed her. Oh. Wow, the brother did it. That's what Hudson said. Thank you, Hudson, for coming up. I appreciate your company. I hate you had to go. Benay. Greetings, Lady Shaman in chat. Hello, Queen Tulsa. What's up? It's so good to see you. Hopefully you haven't left yet without me saying hello to you. It's so good to see you. Okay, Cece, I will watch it. I will. Is this something you think we all should watch? Hello, Queen Tulsa. Welcome. We're
around
wrapping
the world,
it up.
the maximum penalty is life imprisonment.
The maximum,
but the reality is they take into account all sorts of...
The maximum penalty for him is life in prison. They must have told him as much, because look how scared he is from when he was in that car, like he saw a ghost. Ooh. Ghost to do.
So factors in determining what the appropriate punishment would be if there were indeed to be a conviction.
I'm curious what we've seen that obviously there is an uproar in the British public over former Prince Andrew's connection to Jeffrey Epstein, and that's why he's been banished from the royal family. Does the public feel like this is really justice because he was not arrested for any of the allegations regarding Virginia Giuffre and other Epstein victims, and that this is more of a financial thing they're getting? In our country, we would say it's sort of an Al Capone. They didn't get him for.
To me, if you can get them any way you can get them, get them. Because sometimes it's hard to prove other stuff. And when it's difficult to prove that, then go with what you know. So this is maybe the only way that they could have gone after him. You know, it's better than not having haven't gone and got him. Shame on you, Andrew.
The murder and mob stuff, they just got him
Wrapping it up.
for tax evasion. Does that feel like justice?
Well, no. Well, firstly, this is not the end of the matter. Secondly, they haven't got him. Just to be clear on that, it's going through the process. And I know I keep emphasising that, but it is important because we have exceptionally strict rules about contempt of court here, and it goes back to that sort of side. But you're right. People have been turning around and saying all this information is coming out. He did a disastrous interview in 2019 on the BBC with Emily Maitlis, where he sort of said he'd never met Virginia Giuffre.
He didn't know her.
And he basically was having a pizza in Woking with his daughter at that stage. And
he lied about the situation. He said that he did not ever meet Virginia. And at the time that they say that they had met, he was in London getting his kids their favorite pizza at the time. And he doesn't even like pizza.
He didn't sweat because he has a biological condition, which means he can't sweat, and so on and so on.
He can't sweat. Did you hear that too? He can't sweat because he has this situation. But they said he was sweating, but he said he can't sweat. It's that stupid stuff.
So forth. He became a figure of ridicule regarding that particular interview. And what's also happened, he has been talking about when he finished his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and the various revelations about which have come out as a result of these millions of documents, literally millions of documents, is that actually his time frame for when he finished that relationship is not correct. And it also had more and more picture evidence and so on and so forth. You've seen appalling pictures of him on all fours over what seemed to be a young person on that sort of basis. So the headlines, the media have been...
Oh my God. They showed this picture the other day. And then next thing you know, he was on a horse. Tone deaf. Says stupid stuff. Get off the horse, get yourself in the house and get somewhere and sit down, you pedo. That's why they came and got him. Out there horsing around. Wasn't he, Cece and Diane? So good to see you guys. Thanks for hanging out. Look at this. Look at this. Look at you, Andrew. Let me make it bigger so you guys can see it. This is who we've been talking about.
Covering this. But again, it's important to emphasize that the charges, if indeed there are to be any charges, are not related to that at the moment. And so that's why we need to make the difference between this is about potentially sharing confidential information. The police
allegedly
have a period of time within which to look at that and decide whether or not they're going to release him or charge him.
We got it. Andrew, we so appreciate you coming on and explaining this. Really do appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Looking forward to joining you next time.
Thank you again. Coming up. Authorities are looking at the Nancy Guthrie kidnapping with a different lens today. That they have been looking almost for 3 weeks for tips where people know something about him. Now they are looking for what people didn't see. Be right back. Authorities are looking at the Nancy Guthrie kidnapping with a different lens today. That they have been looking almost for 3 weeks for tips where
regarding
people,
this man in particular,
where people know something about him, people who can identify a glove or the facial features or, you know, whatever it is, come forward.
You know what? This is that dumb shit. Are you mean to tell me you back asking the public, do we know this person? Have we seen him? This is what they have. You know what? This is some sloppy police work. Okay, Cece, I'll do that. Cece says it's just a small piece of education if you're listening carefully. Hello from New Orleans. Hello, Michelle Lee. Queen Tulsa, last saw you outside with your dogs playing in the snow and eating your apple tree. Aww, that's pretty cool. The first video with that guy is a whistleblower who ultimately was part of the crazy things, but stopped when they demanded him to do worse things and ultimately unalive potentially. Oh, wow. I gotta watch that. I'm gonna watch it tonight. Oh. I think Andrew looked like he had been getting into the medicine cabinet a little too much the night before. Did you see his pupils? I'm just saying, if you know, you know. He did look like he looked like something was up. Something was up. Look at this. Guys, now they're trying to ask us questions. Isn't this weird? This is some weirdo stuff. Don't you think if we knew, I would be like, what's the number? What's the number? This man was walking down the street, looked just like that person. Let me call. Come on. This news has been out there, and now you're waiting on the public to help you. Which I know you can get help from the public. Let's be honest. You can get help from the public. You can get the public to help you, and they can give you tips and even solve the case. But what has not happened is that has not happened yet. Which makes me believe that what are the FBI them doing? Am I wrong? They want us to clue in to the backpack, to the gloves, to the ski mask, to he looks like he walks slow, like he walked with the you know, there's a lot of distinctions about this person.
Forward, his clothing, anything, even his gait.
Now they're
seem familiar.
Now they are looking for what people didn't see.
More specifically, what they have not seen for the last 2.5 weeks.
So we know that the FBI now is confident that they've got enough of a profile. I mean, it's not a full profile, but we know that the guy is between 5'9" and 5'10". It is a white male, it appears. It is a man with a mustache and a beard. It is somebody who lives in the Tucson area. If these ransom notes that we received are to be believed, and I can tell you as to the first ransom note, the FBI is keenly interested. And I can tell you.
There you go. There you go. There go Harvey go again, thinking he's solving the case for the FBI. He's the case solver. TMZ is making themselves look like fools. They are talking about the ransom note. There's a new ransom note that's come through. TMZ covers up for lots and potentially paid to distract the public. This is funny. TMZ are making themselves look like a fool. Harvey wants to solve the case so bad. And they every day they come up with a new note. There's a new Nancy note. Yeah, they're making themselves look like idiots. Just so now they want us to figure out what we didn't see, which makes, oh, my back is itchy, no sense. I'm trying to figure this out. You can't. It's TMZ's fault. Listen, if they knew I was playing their stuff, they would probably strike me. Look at Andrew. Let me move on. Every time I see this picture, I'm like, what the heck I do?
2.5 weeks.
So we know that the FBI now is confident that they've got enough of a profile. I mean, it's not a full profile, but we know that the guy is between 5'9" and 5'10". It is a white male, it appears. It is a man with a mustache and a beard. It is somebody who lives in the Tucson area. If these ransom notes that we received are to be believed, and I can tell you as to the first ransom note, the FBI is keenly interested, and I can tell you that definitively, keenly interested in it, then he is a smart individual who is tech savvy. So have you not seen that person in the last 3 weeks?
Now it's the thing you got to be thinking about is if you know anyone who matches any of those things, and certainly if they match multiple of those things, where have they been?
Somebody just disappeared over the last 3 weeks.
If there's someone you know, and you know well enough that suddenly you haven't heard from them for 2.5 weeks, that's a sign.
Is it somebody that you saw walking his dog every morning, and all of a sudden the dog's not getting walked, or dog's getting walked by somebody else? Right. Or is it somebody who hasn't shown up for work? It could be somebody who is always at the supermarket every couple of days.
See at the convenience.
So, have you?
They're trying their best to solve the case. They are trying their best to solve the case. They are trying to tell us to look beyond the scope, which makes sense. These are good tips. I'm not saying that they're not, but they're not doing this for clout. TMZ is doing this for clout. Look past everything and look inside
you that definitively, keenly interested in it, then he is a smart individual who is tech savvy. So have you not seen that person in the last 3 weeks?
Now it's the thing you got to be thinking about is if you know anyone who matches any of those things, and certainly if they match multiple of those things, where have they been?
Somebody just disappeared over the last 3 weeks.
If there's someone you know, and you know well enough that suddenly you haven't heard from them for 2.5 weeks, that's a sign.
Is it somebody that you saw walking his dog every morning, and all of a sudden the dog's not getting walked, or dog's getting walked by somebody else? Right. Or is it somebody who hasn't shown up for work? It could be somebody who is always at the supermarket every couple of days.
See at the convenience store every day, getting coffee, and suddenly they're not there.
They are looking for that. They are looking for that angle to it, and that's not a bad idea. We've talked about that over the last week or two, that we know enough that who's gone missing, who's MIA, and they're still looking for tips. They don't have hard leads right now, and it is frustrating. And here's the reality, that there are a lot of things going on. Prince Andrew is going on. We may be attacking Iran, which is going to be a big story. So Nancy Guthrie may not be, as they say in journalism, on the front page.
Right.
And it's worrisome to authorities.
Because then then those leads dry up, and people stop calling in with tips. People stop thinking about it. You would hope that certainly.
Hashtag Where is Nancy? We're going to stick with this story and stay with this story because we are concerned about Nancy. We want to see her return. We're not trying to solve the Clay case. We don't know what happened to her. I don't believe this ransom notes came from the people that were involved. And see, I'm starting to think that too, Diane. If so, YouTube would be over. How long could you keep a 85-year-old without medication that needed every day? It's been 20 days. Yes, it has. Prayers for Nancy Guthrie. Yep. Yeah, they're searching in Mexico, which is interesting. Like, don't you think someone said they need to stop and let the FBI take over? Hashtag where's Nancy? It's becoming a mystery, a sad mystery.
Locally in Tucson, that's less likely to happen. But they need.
God, I was finna go off. Where did Hudson go? Hudson? I don't know if she left or not. I was supposed to be signing off. Here I am talking about a whole nother subject.
People everywhere to really be thinking about this who might have any connection to someone in the Tucson area.
So they want to know who you haven't seen in the last 3 weeks.
My name is Mark, out of Boston, Massachusetts. And, I think the key to finding this suspect is the little minute details that nobody's thinking about. Who might not have been at work for the last few weeks, who maybe has been out of character over the last few weeks, who's been a little overly anxious and frustrated and maybe excited over the last few weeks. And lastly, I believe this individual is an amateur. And I think that's the reason why we're having trouble finding him. Amateurs do not leave patterns. They do not leave statistics behind, whereas professionals do. So I think in a case like this, the amateur is at the forefront. I think that's the reason why we're having such a difficult time finding him.
I don't know that you're right, though, on the amateur. You may be right, but I got to tell you, if this ransom letter is real, he's eluded authorities so far.
It's true. He definitely has. But that video of him at the front door.
He's bumbling.
It just looks so bumbling.
He's bumbling, but he has been.
He is. He's bubbling. He's not. He doesn't have his stuff together.
Effective in eluding authorities.
Yeah, like, oh, I'm going to cover it up with my hand, and that's going to do it. Oh, I don't know.
One of the most impactful moments of Michael Jackson's life gets put under the microscope tonight. A new special that we have put together. TMZ presents Michael Jackson, 30 Fatal Seconds.
What?
And those 30 seconds turned his life completely around, and arguably, not even arguably, I think all the evidence is there, eventually leads to his death.
It totally leads to his death. So the time is 1984 at the Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles.
Oh my God, did you see that? It's called 30 Seconds. So they're going to show us the last 30 seconds of his life. Tuscan is close to the border. Wow, she was out there by the border. Okay, CC. He typically goes live through 3 a.m. Tuscan time. Hello, Lisa. How are you? Yeah, we're going to be here a few more minutes and then I'm going to let you lovely people go. But what I wanted to say was about Michael Jackson really quick. There's a 30-second take on his last 30 seconds of his life. That's what they're going to be showing. Hold on.
Michael and his brothers were filming a Pepsi commercial, and you've probably seen video where his hair catches on fire because of the pyrotechnics, and he suffers a severe burn. We have obtained never before seen footage of this accident.
Did he not know he was on fire? Hello? Guys, did you see that? Let me rewind it. His hair was on fire. His head was on fire. I'm gonna make it bigger so you can see it. Check this out.
Where his hair catches on fire because of the pyrotechnics, and he suffers a severe burn. We have obtained never before seen footage
Is he still
of
dancing?
this accident. Footage that shows the accident from obtained. Never before seen footage of this accident. Footage that shows the accident from every angle, where now we can say, here is exactly what happened. Here's who is responsible for it. And we talk to people from every angle of this, from people who are eyewitnesses, who worked the commercial, people from the Pepsi account that managed, where his hair catches on fire because of the pyrotechnics, and he suffers a severe burn. We have obtained never before seen footage of this accident. Footage that shows the accident from every angle, where now we can say, here is exactly what happened. Here's who is responsible for it. And we talk to people from every angle of this, from people who are eyewitnesses, who worked the commercial, people from the Pepsi account that managed it, and many others. And there is no doubt, there's no doubt at all that this burn led to Michael Jackson's
I've never
death.
seen it before.
When pyrotechnics are involved and sparks are flying, timing makes all the difference.
The pyrotechnics went off, but they came this way, and it just caught him right in the back right here.
And those chemicals with his hair.
We saw these flames come up behind his head, and the pyrotechnics were already done.
The injury that Michael sustained shooting that Pepsi commercial really had far-reaching effects because of his continued pain. As it turns out, what kind of crazy, ironic, insane world is this? That moment for Michael Jackson, the superstar, the person, the human being, that was exactly the middle of his life, to the day. So it's like, up, Pepsi commercial, down.
Oh.
And when we say down, we are talking about a burn that led to pain meds that led.
There it is right there. The drugs. The rugs, guys. The rugs led that down. Yeah. To take 85-year-old woman, it's ridiculous. No, they're not going to take her. I was born in Tuscany, and I know it very well. If that was the case, they would have got the money and left her somewhere for them to find. I remember seeing that Michael hair burnt years ago. That was pretty bad. That's what it says, Lisa. That's so sad.
Led to addiction, that led to an addiction to plastic surgery, and you can literally draw a line from Pepsi to June 2009.
Yep. Right. And one of the many layers of sad things about this is that Michael didn't want to do it in the first place.
Right.
This was a favor to the brothers. He didn't want to do the commercial. He didn't want to do the album, the Victory album. He didn't want to do the tour. He wanted no part of any of it.
He did it for his family.
He did. He didn't even tour Thriller, so he did not want to tour the Victory album. He was tired. And then, yeah, this happened. And I think also because there was no social media, there were no cell phones filming it, at the time, people thought it was kind of a joke. Like, oh, his hair caught on fire.
Right.
Because the next time you saw him, he seemed fine.
Right. And there were there's a lot of mythology about why his hair caught
Yeah,
fire,
people thought it
and
was
which we
yeah.
address in the special. And
I don't think
Michael was
find out.
Michael was such a victim in this. I mean, this has nothing to do with sexual allegations, the sexual misconduct allegations. This has to do with his physical state, his mental state, his emotional state, and he was a victim of a bunch of doctors, one of whom we profile, who just loved being around a celebrity and would give him anything he wanted.
And
it led to his death.
He was 25 years old then. You also forget how young he really was.
Yeah. It was a middle, like Mark said, it was the middle of his life to the day. So anyway, it is on Fox tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 Central. It's called TMZ Presents Michael Jackson, 30 Fatal Seconds.
Dang, I want to see that.
I'm Minaj. I'm just here in Miami, Florida, and I just have to say I find it absolutely insane that just a 30-second moment can go ahead and change the entire trajectory of someone's career, and with his career and everything. Yep.
It is. It's stunning, and that's one of the reasons we
Michael
thought
Jackson,
of the title. It's like
30 seconds.
sometimes momentous things don't happen over a long period of time. They happen just like that.
Yep.
Coming up.
All right, we have another multi-hyphenate
God,
in
I
Hollywood.
wanna see it.
We do. That's interesting.
Kind of a triple threat. I think you could say Laura Wasser is now.
Laura Wasser is a model lawyer.
All right.
How's that?
How hot am I?
All right, lovely people. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, kicking it with me, and my chair is about to come loose. Okay. I feel like I'm about to fall out of it. Anyway, have a lovely night. I enjoyed each and every one of you. Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Cece. Thank you, Highly Sensitive. Thank you, Diane. Thank you guys for being a part of my show. Thank you, Payne. Thank you, Pickles. Guys, have a wonderful night.